So the other night while we were live, I guess, Gavin McInnes doing his show. He's the founder of the Proud Boys, and he runs censored.tv for those aren't familiar. He's doing his show and then he stands up and it's like he's talking to someone. And then he says he'll get a lawyer and schedule something. And then he leaves. And then his show is just dead air for 30 minutes. And the rumor going around is that he was arrested. However, many people on the left are claiming it was a prank or a publicity stunt. Some are even claiming that behind the scenes, he's in a private chat room with other Proud Boys and he's currently talking. However, an associate of his and from Censored TV is saying that he is in jail right now. It's hard to know what to make of this. Because I when I see this, him being interrupted during the live show, a lot of people are like, what are the chances that happens? And it's like, we've been interrupted several times with the police coming here because we were swatted. And there are a lot of people claiming that we were faking it. And we weren't. We had you actually can see the police walk in the room the first time it happened. And I think not the last time, because to be honest, when it's happened following that, we haven't said anything. We have armed guards, and other security that I'm not going to mention. And they will, intercept any, let's just say, security issues. So we just don't say anything about it. And, obviously. But there was, I think a month ago, we had the cops sweep the room. It was a wide shot. So when I see this story, I'm like, I don't know, man, maybe he got arrested. But maybe it's not related to anything crazy. Like, if he did, maybe it's because he, stole a newspaper or something. Who knows? Or he, got into a civil dispute. Now they're arguing. I have no idea. But the story is certainly going wild. So if it is a stunt, it is a brilliant one and it's working, I guess. But I'm not going to start off by assuming that someone would ditch their own show to do something like this. Don't know for sure. On top of that, though, we have new information coming out from the Trump raid. And look, it's my opinion, but I think right now it is definitively FBI corruption. The affidavit, mostly redacted, basically said that Donald Trump cooperated by turning over 15 boxes. And within those boxes was classified materials. Therefore, they said, we now have reason to believe he's probably got more, so we should get to search his home. Then they went in and took 11 documents or 11 packets or something. And Kash Patel said that those were Russiagate documents. Could it be that right before a midterm, they were scared that Trump would release Crossfire Hurricane Russiagate evidence that made the government look bad? So they needed a way to justify going to his house and taking the copies, or at least trying to find out what he has. I don't know for sure. I don't want to get too conspiratorial. What I do know is it sounds like from this affidavit, if Trump did not cooperate with the feds, they would not have had means or grounds to actually go into his home. So it's very, very crazy. We're going to get into that and a whole lot more. Governor Hochul in New York said Republicans are not New Yorkers. Or what did she say? Something like that?
She told them to go back to Florida.
Is that what she said?
Yeah.
Wow.
We can talk all about it.
I guess
we'll
they
talk
will.
all about that. But ladies and gentlemen, tonight's show is sponsored by Timcast Records.
Whoa.
Head over to timcastrecords.com, or you'll see in the description below is a link to Bandcamp. We also are selling this new song, Only Ever Wanted, our first single from Timcast Records, on Apple Music. And a lot of people were like, I ain't going to buy off Apple. And it's like, okay, Bandcamp, they're all right. Here's the thing. We have 1 week. We have very little time to maximize the amount of purchases of the song in order to actually chart and have an impact. And the whole point of this is we want to invade the cultural spaces of the establishment. So here's what I'm going to say to all y'all. At midnight, actually 12:01 a.m. this morning, we launched the song Only Ever Wanted, official video. You can see it right here. Let me show you. Boop, there it is. We right now have 450,000 hits on this song in, what are we looking at, 20 hours, I think it's been?
Yeah.
In less than 1 day. And that's just on YouTube. So on other platforms, there's also, I think maybe 80 to 100K on Instagram, which doesn't really count towards anything. And so all in all, I would already say huge success for our initial launch of a song that we wrote. We've got many more coming. We're going to be signing more bands. Just like the Daily Wire is doing movies, we're doing something similar. We had Pete Parada. He was a drummer from The Offspring and a whole bunch of other bands like Face to Face. And they fired him because he could not get the vaccine. So it is an honor and a privilege to have worked with him on this song. And that's what we're going to do. We are going to take the hill that they have abandoned. If you want to support us and you want to send a message, you want to help us continually take this space, the link in the description below, 69 cents to buy the song. It's all costs. And you don't need that many to have an impact to get on the charts. So if you guys go down there and just buy that song, put it in your libraries, it's also on Amazon Music and stuff, it would be a dream come true. It'd be tremendous. And hopefully we can generate enough from this to keep making more music. And then if there are other people who are scared, you know, I want to tell you what I'm talking about. People in the music industry who are like, I agree with all of this stuff. Oh, I voted for Donald Trump, but if I tell anybody, I'll get fired. I want there to be, within a few years, a parallel cultural economy where people can be like, bro, if you fire me, I'm going to go work for this other company. Daily Wire. They're already doing it. They hired a Disney executive. Yeah. We need more of this. So, you know, I'll say outright, I wish, you know, anybody else could be doing this kind of stuff too. There's many people who are doing it. All I know is I'm going to do everything I can. And with your support, we'll do more. So that being said, links in the description below. Joining us. And don't forget, Timcast.com, of course.
Oh, yeah, we have a site too.
Being a member at Timcast.com is what's making all this possible. That's like the main engine for us to make all these shows. And you can see here that we've got Cast Castle Vlog, which is comedy. We're turning into a sitcom, Tales from the Inverted World, true crime, pop culture crisis, pop culture commentary, Chicken City, family friendly, you know, just chicken stuff. We're trying to build the cultural space and expand it. And we are building more and more and more. And what's happening is once we get a project established and the gears start turning, we move on to the next one. And we just keep planting more seeds whose shade we know we will never sit beneath. That's the whole goal. So become a member at timcast.com, support our work. Joining us to talk about all of this crazy stuff and probably a lot of cultural stuff is Gprime85.
Thank you again for the invite.
Go ahead.
Am I allowed to introduce myself? No. Okay. Well, I will say then simply, I am the wandering cartoonist who serves no master.
That's right.
I am Reddit's favorite martial arts expert. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And I am, in fact...
Grappling, it's called.
Well, I have a list
grappling.
Here. I have a list here I can't say
grappling.
yet. And I'm the only one you guys ever wanted.
Oh my.
That's right.
We got a couple of George's awesome comics. My favorite is the Joe Biden electrocuting people with force lightning. It's just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
That's true.
We are also joined by Hannah Claire Brimelow.
Hi, I'm Hannah Claire Brimelow. I'm a writer for Timcast.com.
Hi, everyone.
That was easy.
Hi, Hannah Claire.
Talk about other stuff if you guys want.
Hey, George, what's your website? I'll mention it again at the end, I think.
Well, I think the best way is just Gprime85 on Twitter and Instagram, and I have all my links on there.
Oh, yeah.
And Timcast Records will be releasing Gprime's first rap song.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, look at that beard.
I'm announcing this without actually consulting with George at all.
And if you guys want, I'm trying to convince Tim to play Only Ever Wanted on the show tonight. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. Maybe we'll play out the show.
Maybe we'll play some songs. We can ask Carter to come.
Oh, not live. I mean, can we roll the video at the end of the song and just let it roll us out?
I don't have the file.
Don't have the capacity.
Oh, I could play it on YouTube.
Play the YouTube video.
Yeah.
We could buy the MP3.
A little taste of freedom.
We could buy our own MP3.
For how much? What a great bargain.
69
cents, I heard. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
It's Elon Musk. You know, he's a big fan of that number, and
That's
so
right.
no, you're given three options to sell songs for: $129.99 and 69 cents. And so the strategy is basically if you have a diehard fan base, they sell it for $129 because they know it'll sell no matter what. And then if you're looking for just maximum sales, you sell it for the lower amount. So we're not looking for. I'm not trying to make $1 million off this song. I'm trying to have an impact, inspire young people, and set the space. I'll tell you guys this right now. Going through all the Billboard numbers, it's actually really funny. When you look at the Billboard Hot 100, the most popular songs in the country, it's all like, you know, R&B, hip hop, you know, WAP. You know what I mean? Was it WAP? The thing Ben Shapiro raps. The reason that is because people listen to that stuff. But if every fan of like metal or alternative actually bought the songs, then the Hot 100 would always be alternative rock.
Yeah, a coordinated marketplace. When the demand can coordinate, you can kind of control production in a sense.
I'll just put it this way, like I won't say too much, but it does not take that many people to buy a song to get you in the top charts. The issue is no one does. So the reason, I'll say this: if we saw John Rich, he hit #1 on iTunes, I think for like 12 days or something like that.
He did great.
With Progress, a country song ragging on woke people because his fans actually bought it. That's what I'm talking about. So even if it's not like this song's totally not political, we need y'all to just support your favorite artists, and then all of a sudden we'll start displacing the top charts. And then if you do that, those record labels are going to be like, hey guys, this makes more money. This sells better.
And shout out to Shane and Nancy Cashman, the actors in the video. If you guys haven't seen Only Ever Wanted, the music video, you got to go to it and watch it tonight at some point. And they look great. Their eyes, man, there's just so much emotion in the eyes. I'm really, really happy with Kent Welling's editing and shooting of the video, too. It's fantastic.
There was a comment. Viva Fry posted the promo, and then someone responded to him saying, "Cringe. I'm surprised the glass from the car crash didn't form angel wings behind her in the end." And then
Yeah,
I
that would've been
I
good,
responded with, "Whoa, that's a good idea."
Yes.
That's funny.
Magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am also here in the corner. It's Friday evening. I'm leaning on my pillow because my arm is killing me, but I'm here to push buttons and let's talk about the news.
Here's the first story.
Oh my.
The reason this story is important because Gavin McInnes may have been arrested. We don't know. The Daily Dot, who likely just hates Gavin, writes, "Was Proud Boys founder Gavin McInnes actually arrested following his live stream?" Well, I believe it's Bettridge's law. Is that it? You want someone fact check me on this one?
Bettridge's? Never heard of
Bettridge's
this.
law of headlines. If a headline asks a question, the answer is no.
That's correct. Yeah, I have heard that.
Is it Bettridge?
I don't know. I gotta look up the exact
What do we got?
title.
So much fast typing in this
Yeah,
room
come
right
on,
now.
guys.
Betteridge's Law of Headlines.
Boom.
Yeah.
I can't believe I remembered that properly. I'm always mixing it up.
It was Betteridge.
So here's what happens. There's this video of Gavin. He's doing his show. I think we can play this.
Named after Ian Betteridge, by
Oh,
the way.
hey.
Really, an Ian.
time
British
to shine.
technology journalist.
So here's Gavin McInnes.
We're shooting a show. Can we do this another time?
And then he gets up and he like doesn't say anything for a little while, and then it's really quiet because he's away from the mic. He says, "Let's see, when's he gonna say it?" I think we got to jump ahead.
We'll sit down and have a conversation. We'll schedule a meeting, and we'll sit down with my lawyer.
Yeah, he says we'll schedule a meeting. We'll sit down with my lawyer. Now I'll say this: a lot of people are like, it's got to be the feds because I think it was Will Carless, this journalist, called the local police and they're like, we did not arrest him, and there's been no announcements by law enforcement or anything about a possible arrest. Who knows what's happening?
Is he in the U.S. or Canada?
He's in New York.
US.
this is the kind of thing where law enforcement, I believe they would make a big headline out of this if
I don't
they
think so.
arrested Gavin.
No, that's a privacy violation. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't just arbitrarily announce we have arrested this man.
But with Trump, they were like, we went into Mar-a-Lago. Wasn't that a big...
No, he
was
was the
Trump,
one who announced
yes.
they went to Mar-a-Lago.
And with Roger Stone, they tipped off CNN. So
right.
it depends on what the police government wants to happen.
I don't know what to think of this because Gavin's a master troll. Like the Proud Boys is a master troll. He
is.
set that group up as a troll, and but I don't want to say that if he actually got arrested because that's
I don't care who you are. I'm even the boy who cried wolf in a circumstance like this. I'm not going to start by assuming you faked some kind of arrest or something. And you got to understand too in this clip. He didn't even say he was getting arrested. He just left the show in the middle of the show. For all we know, when he was pulling into his driveway, he scratched his neighbor. He bumped his neighbor's car, and they called the cops. And he's doing a show, and the cop shows up, and then they said you hit that car, you got to come out. And he's like, I'll get a lawyer. It could have been something as innocuous as that. And then they were like, no, you're coming out now. And then the show goes off the air because he's outside and he's arguing with people and exchanging information, and they're yelling at him. Who knows?
Did they leave the show running after that?
Yeah, they left it running. So Josh Denny, who is associated with Gavin McInnes and Censored.tv, says, just got off the phone with our people. It's not a bit. Gavin was against going to January 6th. He was against Charlottesville and told Proud Boys they were out of the club if they went, but he's
wow.
rotting away in jail because he dared to question authority.
Oh, wow.
I kind of feel like it's hard to believe. What do you think?
I don't think it's hard to believe that Gavin is against January 6th. I think
No,
that's well publicized. I think
getting arrested. I know he's against January 6th because he said
I'm wary to comment on this. There's a part of the video where he says, I didn't let you in here.
Right.
And I don't know a ton about Gavin's studio, but I think that's significant. That either means that they felt like they had a reason to enter, and I assume that means they were serving an arrest warrant.
Yeah.
It's hard not to see it
That's a
that
good
way. I don't think that he's been silent ever since, so that's also significant. I think I think his company or he would address it in some way if everything were fine, if that makes sense. I think the fact that we are not hearing anything, the longer it goes on, becomes increasingly more suspicious.
Will Carless said, trying to confirm what's up with Gavin McInnes abruptly leaving his show last night in the middle of his live stream. A colleague of his tweeted McInnes was hauled off by the feds, but no charges filed on Pacer or press releases from DOJ, FBI, so reserving judgment. Fair point. I don't know. Because, Ian, you mentioned it. He's a master troll. He certainly is. But I will say, Scott Adams, remember what he tweeted July 1st, 2020?
Yeah, I do.
What
I
did-
remember
what did
it.
he say?
He said Republicans will be hunted. Everyone made
And-
fun of him.
And then it was 2 months later that Aaron Danielson took 2 to the chest from
Yep.
a Black Lives Matter activist with the BLM tattoo on his neck.
Someone was
So-
just insinuating that MAGA Republicans were dangerous. MAGA Republicans, but it was like they specified this. These MAGA. Who was that? It was on Twitter. I think it was today. Even was it a politician
MAGA
or
Republicans? It was
something?
Biden, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Might have been
Biden. Was saying
Biden
that.
said,
Yeah,
"I
he
don't
did.
like these guys."
It's hilarious that I don't remember who it was when he talks because it's that.
Yeah,
It's
so
like who was that
forgettable.
guy?
Have you guys seen the trailer?
older
for,
man who keeps just rambling.
Yeah, I don't know.
Have you guys seen the trailer for My Son Hunter?
Oh gosh,
No.
no.
Yeah, not a trailer. I
saw,
just saw it exists.
I saw the trailer. It looks really good. Gina Carano's in it.
Oh, cool.
But my only issue with it is that it makes Joe Biden look very strong and confident.
Incorrect.
Inaccurate.
Yeah, because like he's like there's like a scene where he confronts Hunter and he's like, "What did you do?" And then I'm like, "Joe," he'd be going like, "Come on, man, you crack pipe, corn pop."
What are you doing to me, man?
Unless the angle they're going with is that it's all an act, so that his enemies think he's a fumbling, bumbling. You know, look, people are like, I'll put it this way: conservatives are acting like Joe Biden's not really the one making all these moves. So he's sort of getting the blame deflected off of himself by being this way. So imagine he's actually totally lucid and strong, and he's like, listen here, champ. I just made a bunch of moves, guy. Look, fat. I'm the one taking the economy, but I'm not going to take the blame for it. Watch how I pull this one off. What? Economy?
That's the theory. Ronald Reagan, apparently, when he was leaving office, he had Alzheimer's. That's the story. But some people think that he had been embroiled in some corruption and it was coming out. And then he started saying, like, I can't remember. I don't remember. And his memory started to fail him all of a sudden. And then he was off the hook.
Yeah, they're going to be like, so the Republicans are going to win. They're going to file investigations, win in November. And then they're going to subpoena Joe Biden. And he's going to be like, I did what? And you're going to be like, Mr. President, you had a conversation with the president of Ukraine about $1 billion loan guarantee. $1 billion bone guarantee? What?
Who bought like
Come
a
on,
dinosaur
man.
I
bone?
mean, there were all these stories about like this is starting to seem like elder abuse. Like I think everyone was saying like he seems so out of it that it is almost cruel to force him to do this. I don't necessarily agree, but like in some ways I wondered if that story was to set him up for like sympathy from the American public should anyone ever try to prosecute him in the future, because it's like, look, he wasn't well then and he's even worse now. Like we always just give him the excuse that he's like old and decrepit, even though he was this way when we elected him.
Maybe he is being controlled by somebody else and he's just a puppet. Maybe he's secretly strong. Either way, you've got a conspiracy theory on your hands. But this is what I want to get to. If this Gavin McInnes thing turns out to not be a hoax and he was actually detained for some reason, then the fact that information's been withheld and that he would be in jail is actually really, really terrifying, which is why it's like, it'd be really awful if it was a stunt or some kind of prank or something. He might come back and be like, I didn't prank anybody. You know, I got into an argument with a neighbor and then we canceled the show and then everyone started claiming I was arrested. Like, what happened? You know, for all we know, it could be like that. But considering that the president just got his house raided and the reasoning behind it seems to be completely like fraudulent and corrupt, in my opinion. These are scary days. You know, like I mentioned, Scott Adams said Republicans will be hunted. He did say you'll be dead by this time next year,
Yeah,
or
that
something
was a
like
little
that.
hyperbolic.
Like, I don't know. But a couple months later, dude was shot and killed for just being a Trump supporter. So it's like,
I guess
you
he
know,
was right for somebody.
And if you mean it in like the unpersoning way, like if you ban people from platforms that are mainstream and you cut them off from society, you're not literally dead, but you are your influence is over, if that makes sense. That's what I think more people, the attempt is with most people who have like MAGA ideology. They don't want them to have any sort of influence over politics. So if they can shuffle them as far into the dark parts of the internet as they can and be like, oh, they're extremists, you know, that's the ideal scenario.
So let's let me start by saying I'm really excited for November. You know, people pointed out that New York 19 was supposed to go Republican, but it stayed Democrat, so that's a bad sign. Mm-hmm. But then someone else pointed out that the Democrats won that district by 12 points. They just won it again by 2, which suggests a major swing in favor of Republicans. So I just want to make sure everybody's got that little optimism in their minds. And I will also add, too, on the culture front, we released a song. It's got 450,000 hits, probably like more than that across the platforms. So like things are going really well. Like I'm feeling pretty good.
Daily Wire is hiring Disney CMO, like the marketing person,
you know,
right?
like
Holy cow.
I think we're doing really well. And every day, the cult seems to just falter and fail and stumble. That being said, in their desperation, you will see the death throes and the death rattles. So going after Donald Trump's home, raiding it. Gavin McInnes may be being raided or arrested. I don't know.
Desperation.
Yeah, but desperation. Project Veritas getting raided. And now we got the story in the New York Times about these people selling the diary, actually Biden's diary, to James. And it sounds like they're going to try and go after Veritas. Mm-hmm. We may be winning, but of course, no one in the culture war is going to just give up, right?
Yeah.
So if freedom, liberty, moderation, libertarianism, conservative values, American values, all of these things, which don't completely agree with each other, but have this coalition start winning, are we about to see a dramatic escalation in corrupt law enforcement and political, authoritarianism?
Well, surely they're going to be held accountable after the next couple of months.
And they can't allow that.
I mean, when a cornered animal lashes out, in its last desperate move, that's when the Republicans have the advantage of typically they are the party of inaction, I would say. And in this case, inaction is probably the best thing to do.
Really?
They're being provoked into do something, make a mistake. But actually, just by sitting and waiting until November, that's probably the best move for most of the center and the right. Go tell all your family members to vote and go vote yourself, replace all the jerks, and then hopefully the representatives who are elected are going to be able to clean up instead of trying to seize the ring of power for themselves, and then the corruption spreads, but it comes from the right now.
I gotta give an amazing white pill moment for everybody. I was laughing with such joy earlier today. So I tweeted out that YouTube changed their rules.
Right.
I did this big long thing because YouTube removed the rule saying you can't claim that masks cause lung cancer and that masks, a whole bunch of claims. The most absurd of which was that YouTube now allows people to claim that masks cause lung cancer, which is
weird.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And so I did this big thing of all the rules, right? But one of them was about the efficacy of the vaccines. And Marjorie Taylor Greene quote tweeted me and said, so in other words, allowing some truth, something like that. She was not endorsing any of the stuff. A bunch of outlets wrote articles claiming Marjorie Taylor Greene endorses idea that masks cause lung cancer. And then I just busted out laughing.
What the heck?
She certainly did not. She was making a comment about reduction in censorship, some of which these things are actually asserted by the CDC. She did not say masks do this.
No, it's like saying there's some good people in the United States and people being like, oh, you think murderers are good people.
Exactly.
It's that joke of I like pancakes.
Yeah.
Are you saying you hate waffles?
Yes.
Yes. So I just laughed. I'm like, this is all they have. This is what the media has now. They're so desperate.
It's a taunt.
They're scraping at the bottom of the barrel so hard, they've started pulling up wood chips.
Yeah, and the timing is right after she's been swatted, twice? So they're like, no sympathy points for her. She thinks masks make you have lung cancer. Stay away from Marjorie Taylor Greene. Like, it's so desperate what they're doing.
There's another fake meme where they're like, Marjorie Taylor Greene was talking about solar energy and claimed that you would lose electricity at night. And she said, I don't know about you, but I like having the lights on at night. And then all these leftists are mocking her. And I'm like, are you joking? She's right. Solar panels don't work at night. Mm-hmm. And so the issue is with solar power as a grid feature is that you need massive batteries, battery technology that we don't actually have. And so that's why solar works great supplemented by natural gas. Was that her point? Because that's actually correct. But they snip out one weird sounding thing. Anyway, the reason I bring that up as a white pill thing, when we're talking about winning in November, Gprime, he just mentioned, George, he said, get your family, go vote. Marjorie,
friends, everybody you know.
Everybody you know. When Marjorie Taylor Greene is winning and she's like raising more money than anybody else, and then we see a whole bunch of MAGA Republicans that they hate so much winning, Carrie Lake sweeping every district in Arizona. Arizona's been slowly turning blue because of California, people fleeing California.
Yeah,
Carrie Lake still swept every district.
It's that border. That border's
I'm
crazy.
saying, after everything I've seen this year, Trump's endorsement record is like 99% success.
Crazy.
I'm ready to order a bunch of nachos, sit back, grab some beers, and be like, "This is good news, everybody."
Some organic
just make
tortillas,
sure you don't just rest on these victories. You have to make sure now. When the center has crumpled, you don't just go, okay, it crumpled, we can chill. No. Now you take the hilltop. So come November, everybody, you got to get everybody you know. And then finally, if we can get enough of these actual American value politicians in, maybe get some accountability and some
That's a
investigations.
good point. If you really win, which it feels like sometimes I feel like I am winning in life, like this is a victory, so then it's your turn to build. You now have the land is yours. Now you must create something sustainable so that you and your friends can stay, you and your people, your brethren.
It's really red team's game to lose. In sports terms, it's sort of like conservatives in general strategically are hold your ground and play defense. It's hard to go on offense with your shield up. You're stepping forward, holding your ground. But now it's time you have the ball, go towards the end zone. I guess my problem is that I worry that, we grew up, we're all about the age where we remember when the Republicans pushed a little too hard in the early 2000s and stuff. We've seen them go on offense and then make so many mistakes that they make themselves look foolish. And then they get replaced by the left because the left says we want change from these bad policies. I always talk about the Patriot Act and all that stuff. I hate that stuff. And pushing wars and let's go invade everybody. It's like, no, how about we just focus on America for a little while? And that's what this new form of red team is doing. I want to see what happens when they have control of the ball. We've never seen what happens before. Have we? I don't think we have.
Well, how do you see America fitting in with a new world order?
It depends who's in control of America, right? If in the next 2.5 years Biden's still in control of the executive branch, let's say, or his handlers are still in control, legislative might lean red. Supreme Court's leaning red now. So I'm guessing it's going to be lame duckish for the next couple of years, maybe, policy-wise. As far as the New World Order is concerned, they might just be planning to do things without America's involvement, would be my guess, because America is kind of crippled as if we have a blue executive branch who won't pass any of the legislation that they write on red team, let's say. We want to pass these bills, and Joe Biden's like, no, I'm just not going to pass it. So then it goes to the Supreme Court, and then we have more fighting on that front. But as far as what they're trying to push, like what new thing is going to happen in the next 2 years that the liberal world order or whatever, the World Economic Forum, what are they going to try to push in the next couple of years, aside from
cryptocurrency as the new digital currency, like dispensing of the dollar,
erosion of human rights in general. I guess we will be watching helplessly as the rest of the world loses their rights, and then hoping that we're one of the last countries that can at least openly criticize this stuff.
Yeah, whenever there's a revolution, honestly, I don't think there's ever been a revolution, I was reading about this, where the bottom tier of society rose up and took the top. It's always that a top and a bottom aspect of society are replaced by a smaller top and bottom segment of society. So, it's like you can't. Well, that maybe is a little different than the point that you can't really revolt. A system doesn't revolt alone. It's because of outside forces. Like the French won the American Revolution.
Yeah, that'll be very strange if, let's say, there's uprisings throughout America. I was talking about this yesterday. I think they might try to import like private military from other countries to try to be peacekeepers or something. That would be absolutely horrifying. Or maybe we were talking about this offline with those stupid Boston Dynamics robots patrolling down the street, trying to hold the peace in like New York State or something. If there's like weirdos in the woods trying to hold their ground.
I guess, are there peaceful revolutions in history? Like, are there? You guys know of any?
I can't name one off the top of my head. I guess
Peaceful,
they could happen, but
there are a couple examples. I can't remember off the top of my head though.
Iceland threw out the bankers like in 2008. They were like, we're done with central
back to
banks. We're
fish,
taking control of our money.
Didn't Canada just be like, hey, we're gonna go our own way, yo? And they were like, okay, Canada, something like that.
Then?
I don't know. There have been, but they're extremely rare. Yeah,
I'll
Very
look
rare.
into that.
Very rare. Let's jump to the story here from Timcast.com.
Oh, yeah.
Governor Kathy Hochul to states Republicans, you are not New Yorkers. Okay, if you are a Republican living in New York, who's that Republican that we know who lives in New York?
Frank.
Frank?
Oh.
Shout out to Frank.
I'm just saying that because there's a bunch.
Okay.
Is
We'll
it
start
Libby
naming.
Emmons? Is
Oh,
she-
Bob, Libby.
There's other ones. I know
Libby?
there's more.
No, Libby.
You mean quite frankly?
Brian
Quite
was
frankly.
there.
Frank himself?
Yeah,
My man.
Frank, yeah.
dude.
I love him.
What's up, Frank?
Louis.
So,
Yeah.
Kathy Hochul's gotta go, said Republican Congressman and gubernatorial candidate Lee Zeldin. Just jump on a bus and head down to Florida where you belong, okay? Whoa!
Okay, bye.
Get out of town because you don't represent our values.
WTF.
Yeah.
Yo, that
crazy,
you are not
man.
New Yorkers. Wow.
There are like 5.4 million registered
5.4.
Republicans, and like there are
Holy crap.
probably independents who also lean Republican. You guys should probably at least get a plane ticket to Florida, start seeing yourself
That's
out.
crazy.
Unelected leader telling people, ejecting people. Like,
Yeah.
this is not good. This is not an American value, man. This is not something we've ever really, in my experience, done to our population before. But it is something that the Nazis did to the Jews. You don't, repopulation was like an old punishment.
Say the words.
Liberal international economy.
No.
Graphene.
The two words.
DMT.
Make
is
everyone take
good.
a shot. Come
Come
on,
on.
Ian.
Civil War?
Yeah!
Woo!
You liked it.
When the governor tells 5.4 million people to get out of the state,
At a rally for other political leaders.
dude,
Crap.
when the previous governor murdered 15,000 elderly people, I'm saying that.
Yeah, there's a huge one of the big criticisms of this is like, do you not understand? Like, we've already lost a ton of people because of the pandemic. Like, that's our tax base.
Dude. Did you see? Listen, my friends. The other day we were talking about Nate Silver. He said liberal elites pressured Pfizer to hold back the vaccine till after the election. I guess it was like to hurt Trump or something. That's what Nate Silver was saying. Okay, assuming that's true, these Democrat politicians expected you to die in order to stop Donald Trump. In fact, Cuomo had the option to use that medical ship. Which one was it? It wasn't the Mercy. I thought it was, but someone kept telling me we were wrong.
Oh, I don't know.
There was
I
that
thought
big
it
boat.
Mercy.
Yeah.
There was about
And the Javits Center. And Cuomo was like, I'm going to put the sick people in the elderly home.
Yeah.
And then 15,000 people died.
Yep.
That took a lot of voters out of the equation, I'll tell you that.
This is the USNS
Older-
Comfort.
It was the
That
Comfort.
big?
New York.
Yeah.
There and 15,000 voters who are older, who tend to be conservative,
That's right.
erased from the voting block.
Older people tend to vote Republican.
And then we saw it in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, in New Jersey, and in California.
Yeah.
This is dark stuff.
This is
man.
part of why top-down governance is failing, or at least struggling, is because it's like utilitarian. Kathy doesn't know all the Republicans that she's claiming are not New Yorkers that are. Like, if she knew them personally, she probably wouldn't be saying that.
Well, she always says, like, I'm from Buffalo, I'm from upstate, I know about the rest of New Yorkers. Like, she tries to present herself as more than just, like, a politician who's catering to New York City, which dominates the state's politics in a lot of ways, but, like, she is not. I bring up the economic criticism because the two major issues for New York voters right now are crime and the economy. And right now she says, I don't care about the economy. I don't want any Republicans here. And before, she's running against Lee Zeldin, who, as we remember, someone tried to stab him on stage, and he correctly predicted that person would be released before morning, and the attacker was.
How could you live in New York?
It doesn't make any sense.
Hold on, I think she's right. She's like,
Oh, she's
she
100%
said,
right.
you got to go. What did she say? Jump on a bus and head down to Florida. Republicans in New York, I'm going to tell you, just jump on a bus and head down to Florida.
Yeah, there you go.
Florida needs you, and Florida's great.
I
Maybe-
say stay and fight, though.
Maybe she's going to start busing them down the way that, like, Abbott's busing illegal immigrants
Yeah.
to D.C. Like, she's going to get her own system going.
Perfect.
But you saw that story that they're not even making it, right?
They're
like
stopping
the
in
buses.
red states.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just.
You think it's better to stay in New York and change it from the inside?
I've had the opinion for a long time. It's what blue team seems to be doing is forcing people to retreat. And I've always had the opinion of the more you retreat, eventually you're going to find your back to a cliff, and then they're going to force you to jump or do a desperate move to make a mistake. I know a bunch of New Yorkers because I live really close to it. And the idea of, how do I put this? They will never forget, like, say you had an older family member in the hospital or something like that. You weren't allowed to visit them. Or you could only have one person visiting at a time. That is how you can flip most demographics red, for sure. Nobody's going to ever forget that, at least from our generation. So not being able to visit an elderly family member, or God forbid you had someone that died, those people will never vote blue again, probably. So when she says leave, she's trying to force them to retreat because she knows she's already lost them. So don't leave. In fact, stay in place. I've known a bunch of New Yorkers who they're always talking about, is it time to go? Is it time to go? I say, no, you should reclaim your land. You should not say, I'm going to go somewhere else where I can be happy. Blue team's strategy seems to be to try to make you run away it's like a paper tiger kind of thing. You've already lost the fight. You may as well not fight now because you've lost. But actually, there's way more of you than you think, especially in New York State.
Yeah.
Here's the thing too.
Yes.
If every single Republican in AOC's district actually voted Republican,
Right.
they would win.
They think that it's like, oh, I'm going to lose anyway, so I may as well not vote. That's probably what it is. I don't think even a lot of people know that there's an election coming up in the next few months.
But it's who just won the Republican nomination? Tina something in New York in AOC's district.
I can look.
Yeah, look at because I'm drawing a blank on the name. But
She has a real thick accent.
It's like I think it's what 2-1 or 3 no, it's like 3-1 Democrat to Republican in her district. It's like D plus 25 or something.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the amount of people that actually turn out, it's really, really low.
Tina Forte, is that her name?
Yeah,
Tina
Forte, is that it?
Forte,
If-
Because they don't realize how
Here's-
important it
maybe.
is.
But I will be realistic. You would need every single Republican and conservative-leaning person, every single one.
Grandma.
And then you need to also hope the Democrats don't turn out. The Democrats typically don't turn out. Like AOC, I think got like 100 and something thousand in a district of 750,000. If every conservative voted, it would be the weirdest thing ever. They'd be like, how did New York 14 flip Republican? It's like because the Republicans got fed up and they actually went out and voted.
I think a lot of those votes, though, are people who they've been dead for a while, maybe. And now this is just my opinion. I'm not saying the F word. But a lot of those people, like, they recycle Social Security numbers and stuff.
That's an easy out.
There's a lot of corruption in New York.
Sure.
True. Yeah, true.
I'm all in favor of cleaning up voter rolls, but I think it's such. What I don't like is that in 2016, they screamed for years that Russia hacked the machines and all that stuff. And then to see the right start using that narrative, and I'm like, bro, even if it's the case, you need to talk. There's two big things you need to do. One, rally everyone you know to go and vote. And two, make sure you're paying attention to the process.
Sure.
Like in Wisconsin, they're saying those drop boxes are illegal. But when you come out and you say stuff like that, it's like a defeatist mentality.
No. In fact, we should overwhelm. I say we as if I'm on red team necessarily. I like them. But we should go in overwhelming numbers. So even if someone were to cheat, which never happens, they can't win because the numbers are going to be so overwhelmingly on your side.
Here's what I think is important when it comes to politics. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. There's no such the whole game is fight for power by any means necessary. Now there are certain parameters where things are flexible, albeit amoral or wrong. And then there are certain parameters where you're outright committing criminal activity. Proving criminal activity is very, very difficult and rarely happens. It happens sometimes. DeSantis just found a bunch of people who weren't eligible to vote were voting and things like that. So when people come out and they assert that the reason we lost is specifically because of criminal activity, it's like, or are you just not paying attention to the fact that the rules were adjusted in such a way that it harmed you and your ideology? Pennsylvania is the best example. They changed the rules a year in advance. They cut a deal with Republicans to expand universal mail-in voting, which deeply hurts Republican areas and deeply benefits blue areas. Pay attention to those things. But we've got to maintain that that we're going to win mentality and not be too focused on.
Sure. I definitely don't want to reinforce the idea that we may as well not bother because they're going to cheat. I still think red team can overwhelmingly win just by convincing family members. Say you got people at church that don't vote because they just don't want to, or maybe they're lazy or something. Just convince them how important it is. And they already know how important it is.
Here's the other issue I have. Like, if you think they are cheating, why isn't the other side cheating? Like, why is it only ever the opponents of your person?
I just want lots of accountability.
Those are awesome, by the way. The green tea.
These,
Yeah, those are
man,
great.
I got a story to tell you about this later. I know I love these. They're sugar free and they're super good for me.
Yeah.
You know.
Anyway,
I'll tell you later.
You know, it's always like the other side is cheating, and it's just like, if you think the establishment Republicans aren't playing games, you know what I mean? It's one big political machine, right? That's what I'm saying.
I would love accountability on both sides.
Yeah, especially with the machines themselves. Right now, we've got
Paper, man, I would love it.
or at least digital machines with transparent algorithms so that we can watch the counts happen in real time, and then you can verify your vote. And as opposed to what they did and what they have been doing is that they were tallying them in back rooms with proprietary software code.
Yeah.
So we can't verify that the votes are even being tallied properly. Sure.
The
I need
first-
verification.
Ian, you are completely correct. The first thing that we need to do is open source, publicly accessible source code on all of our voting equipment.
Why not?
Yeah.
Or a switch to paper ballots or something.
Or both.
Yeah.
Or both. Yeah. Yep.
I think a 3-step, like a 3 barriers would be, so you have your paper, you have your digital machine thing, and then you have a blockchain tally as well.
So we're relatively young in that we understand what it means to say open source, but how do we convince people in like the legislative branches what this means and why it's important? I don't think they
Public
even know.
accountability. Public accountability systems.
I've got
Private companies controlling our elections is a conflict of interest.
Yeah,
I think they would all get that. I mean, these are all words that they were familiar with.
I wanna-
Universal voting access.
Sure, voter transparency. I want to point you guys at a video of a testimony a guy gave in front of Congress, if you want to say what can we do with Congress, about building an algorithm in a voting machine that changes the vote 5149.
Oh, yeah.
And that no one, unless you have the source code, you wouldn't know that it's doing it, or unless you could run it up against the actual paper ballots, you wouldn't know that anyone's doing it. That's his testimony.
It's like when you ask them, how do we know it's secure? It's hashtag trust me, bro.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Come on.
and he
it's
he
so
said-
easy to verify.
His testimony said that in the year 2000, he built this for an Ohio, was it a senator? I should be able to have this thing bookmarked, this testimony bookmarked. It's on YouTube. I'll pull it up within a minute.
I think one of the most striking things about this is that she's so, I mean, I think we have this idea that like when people get to the, she won her Democratic primary, that they'll start trying to court the independent vote and move to a more moderate position. But with this, Hochul is just like blatantly going farther left. She is trying to completely activate only Democratic voters, and that is fascinating to me. She thinks she can win on complete liberal rage alone.
So I've got
We,
the
we
video.
need to activate nuclear dark ultra MAGA.
Yeah.
This is the testimony that people need to see. It's Eugene. The video on YouTube, if you want to watch, it's called "American Election Hacker Testifies," and it's from, I don't know, 10 years ago or something. But the guy's name is Clinton Eugene Curtis. He testified under oath in front of the U.S. House Judiciary members in Ohio that Tom Feeney in the year 2000 had him build a prototype software package that would secretly rig an election to sway the result 5149 to a specified side. Under oath testimony that he built that for Tom Feeney.
I was at I've gone to a whole bunch of the DEF CON conferences, and they have the voting hacker village or something like that, where they have a bunch of different voting machines, and they're all just having a good time breaking into them. So open source can help solve a lot of that because it allows the public to scrutinize how the system is being operated. That's really important.
Right
Make it
now,
at least
like-
so the voting machines can't handshake with some machine remotely a million miles away.
Yeah,
They can't have it so that it doesn't connect to anything outside.
Like, that would be nice too. But like, so with a proprietary software voting machine, you could have like 100 people vote, and the machine's like, if the vote is this, then subtract 10 from side A, and so there'll be a thing. But if you don't have the code to see the math of what it's telling you, what to subtract and what to add, you wouldn't know that it's moving the votes. Mm-hmm. But if you can see the code, then you'll see, oh, there's something telling the machine to subtract 10 if. That's not right. It shouldn't be doing that. It should just be doing an honest tally.
That's where we say accountability. Like, honestly, this kind of code, I'm not like an expert by any means, and you know way more than me, but I'm sure like most amateur coders know how to tally things. This is not difficult. It's trying to account for all the weird things, like what if I scan a vote and it doesn't go through, and then we have to scan it again? Does it delete the original scan?
Should the ballots have should they be serialized so that there can't be repeats? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, these are real like easy questions.
Bitcoin
Easy in
could
the
solve
sense
this. Crypto could solve this. If we've talked about crypto voting, but if we just do like a hybridized system where when you vote, your ballot has a cryptographic association with your name and your registration, then you don't got to worry about them going through the machine twice or anything like that. It's like rejected already in the system. Let me talk to you about the way in which I think we are seeing dirty, underhanded tactics to try and win in these elections. From Timcast.com. Sandy Hook families ask judge to remove Alex Jones from control of his company. Now, I don't mean to say this story literally specifically is Democratic operatives trying to cheat. What I'm saying is the things we have seen levied at Alex Jones in general are destroying his ability to run his company. And along with many other people, the censorship ramped up tremendously in 2018. and is still persistent with now the revelation that the FBI made a request to Facebook, and then Facebook was like, oh, we better censor this Hunter Biden laptop stuff. The moves made against Donald Trump, the moves made to censor stories, the destruction of Alex Jones in InfoWars and all that stuff. And for all of the things you can criticize him for, I get it. The fact is, they're going after speech. This would not be necessary if they were winning. They wouldn't need to go after Alex Jones unless Alex Jones was actually a threat to the establishment.
Yeah, just saying his name is giving him publicity.
That's right. What's happening now is, in the lawsuit, the families are alleging that he's funneling money to Free Speech Systems. His company is funneling money to a family member. I say, according to the motion, Free Speech Systems claims to owe a massive secured debt to an insider that was first reported when the cases against Jones began, but no records show that debt existed prior to the lawsuit. Attorneys for the families are now requesting a bankruptcy trustee assume control of his company. They have also requested the court appoint a tort claimants committee to investigate Free Speech Systems' business dealings, and for the court to remove FSS as the debtor in possession. This is kind of crazy because people talked about this when Jones lost his lawsuit, or I shouldn't say when he lost it, he was in default, but when he was sentenced to pay, this 45 million or whatever, 50 million. Imagine you cut a deal with someone, legit, then they get sued. Or let's say they're getting sued and you don't know, and you do a deal with them. Now the court's coming after you and they're going to take from you because of something he did. How is that legal? That to me is crazy.
I would think that would not be.
That's what they're doing. They're basically saying that the other people who Alex owes money to is illegitimate and should be basically suspended. That's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Desperation.
This is what I think. Well, look, the families are asking it, and I think that has a lot to do with they want the money that they sued him over, and if he's broke, ain't no money to get. So this is the course they take. But my point is, you are seeing a lot of stuff launched at Alex Jones. You are seeing a lot of stuff launched at a ton of people, and it's going to get crazier. You think the midterms are crazy? It's like we're a couple months out, and it's getting nuts. They raided a former president's home, unprecedented. Imagine 2023, 2024.
It's almost like they're throwing spaghetti at a wall because they're hoping some of it will stick. That's exactly what it feels like to me, and it does look like desperation. Like they're getting crazy.
And this is how you know when your spaghetti's done. You guys know this, right?
You throw it at the wall, it sticks.
You pull out a thing, and you throw it at the wall. If it sticks, good.
I'm gonna start doing that. That
You know what's
sounds
good about, say, an Alex Jones type of person, not to speak for him or anything, but a lot of people on the right are people of faith, let's say. You get a Marjorie Taylor Greene or something like that. They are trained because of their faith it's like we're conditioned to suffer and take it. And that's when the qualities of the right shine the most, is when you're oppressing them. And it's like, wait, why aren't you staying down? Why do you keep getting up? And it's like, no, I actually kind of love this.
I think that... Oh
no, it's just they worship a guy whose whole shtick is he was beaten to death and then he came back to life. So it's like the more you oppress, say, a Christian or something like that, Judeo-Christian perhaps, the more they're like, oh, wait, I'm actually more in alignment with the person who I'm supposed to be emulating.
I find it's a psyop. I think that the Catholic Church on purpose made people believe that they're supposed to suffer and that they're bad so that they would become servants to the church.
Okay, so this is actually something that Viktor Frankl observed in his time, and Fyodor Dostoevsky also observed it in his time in concentration camp in Soviet Russia. He observed that people who followed religions were impossible to stop. You could not keep them down.
No.
They firmly believed they were following what was true. And I think that's, and you can obviously prove that that's 100% divorced from the church. It had nothing to do with the church. This was something that they held inside themselves.
They're taught scripturally.
Exactly.
This is what, like, the hardcore disciples in, say, the book of Acts or something.
Yeah.
You're the most in alignment. You're the closest to being like the disciples who, like, they're like, no, please torture me more so that my resurrection is better.
Yeah, it's interesting.
St. Paul has said something like that, where it's like, I want to have an even more, I don't know, I want to get more buff points or something when I level up and when I'm resurrected. No, because at the very core of what they believe is that, I mean, they don't talk about this very often. And maybe I'm going on a tangent, but at the core of Christianity is you expect to be resurrected. So even if you're thrown to the lions, literally in early biblical times, tortured to death, whatever, that actually brings you closer to... it's kind of like you if you're not being tortured, maybe you're doing something wrong.
Right. In fact, in Revelation, one of the things they were talking about was how God despised the lukewarm church.
Yeah.
He's like, you were neither hot nor cold, and for that reason I spit you out of my mouth.
You're
I
just
have nothing
kinda
to do
there,
with you.
yeah.
You're just there.
But I was talking about this the other day, and I'm not going to apologize, but talking about lukewarm Christians and that sort of thing. And even with the vaccine mandates and you weren't allowed to go to church or any of that stuff, I would still hear stories about people going to church and meeting anyway, even though the state told them they weren't allowed to.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's where you find where the lukewarm Christians were, is the ones who kind of just like, oh, I'll do whatever the state tells me
Right.
to. It's like, no, actually, in the early church, again, we were meeting underground when you could be found and killed.
You
Like,
know,
you remember...
Oh, no, go finish your idea.
You know the origin of the Jesus fish?
I was going to say that. That's what I was going to
exactly,
say.
yeah.
One person would draw a crescent, and then the other person would finish it, creating the shape of a fish,
Secret message.
so that you knew it's
We
like...
are fishers of men.
That's
Yeah.
right, exactly.
But that's, I mean, honestly, that's when you feel the heat of your faith really, is when you can die for it, but you still believe it anyway. So I have family members who are so, not to say too much out of respect, but like I know one that was facing their death, let's say, or is facing their death. And that is when they are the most themselves, and everyone's like, how are you holding it together? And it's like, no, I'm going to go see Jesus soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Love it.
So again, I'm complimenting Christians in the sense of like, the more you push them, the more you force them to like, hey, we're going to be mean to you and we're going to dox you and we're going to swat you.
Bring it.
They love it. And actually, I don't know if the left understands this because maybe they don't believe anything.
I think they
in
don't
this.
really believe in Christianity because they dismiss it sort of outright.
Sure.
But like throughout the Christian Bible, there are the reminders of like, set your mind on the things above. I think there's a verse in Colossians about that, where it's a constant reminder that like what's happening on earth is not your ultimate end goal.
No.
And I think if you aren't a person of faith, that's very difficult to embrace because like the idea of eternity and the consequences of your actions here, you know, for some people, this is all you have. And so you have to do whatever your ultimate ideology is, you have to pursue it intensely, whereas Christians aren't driven that
It's not
way.
their home. Yeah.
I want to address, you were mentioning about getting backed into a corner, and then, what were you talking about? Like did you say a rat, or what would you say? Just like...
No, just if I'm forced to retreat, eventually there's going to be a cliff behind me.
You know what I was thinking? Do you guys see that video of the lady being attacked by the rabid fox?
Yeah. What the heck was that?
That made me feel like the summer of love, like the analogy. It's like you're sitting there minding your own business, you're watering your lawn, and a rabid fox just runs up and attacks you for no reason. And you try and kick it off, but it keeps biting you. Then it bites onto her hand, and she's like swinging it around and then throws it. And then she's got a gash, and she got puncture wounds. Then she's got to get the rabies shot. And it's like, man, she didn't even do anything to anybody, right? That's how it felt with like the BLM riots. So a lot of people talk about how, someone super chatted, the establishment is losing, but a cornered rat bites the hardest. And I'm like, you got two choices. You can go and water your flowers and mind your own business, and the rabid fox attacks you. Or you can be proactive and chase it off with the hose because they're hydrophobic, and then it might get into a corner and freak out. But what do you choose? Do you choose to say, I'm not going to allow you to come onto my house? Or you say, I'm just going to go over here and ignore you, and then you're eventually going to bite me?
Yeah.
I think being proactive and saying no, just saying no, standing up, even if it means, you backing the establishment to a corner.
That's the problem I have. I do believe that the faith in God or in a perception in something greater than the physical experience that we're having is important, and it gives me faith in saying what I believe regardless of consequences often. But the feeling of being okay to be a servant is disturbing to me because I think that's church propaganda, that they want people to be subservient so that they don't rise up and overthrow corrupt governments and systems. And I don't like seeing people backed into a corner. I don't like seeing people act out of fear. I don't think they should have to. And if you're proactive, you don't have to because you put yourself in a position of stability.
Here's what everyone's got to do. When someone's being mean to you on Twitter, respond by just being nice. Even if you don't want to.
Turn the other
Swallow
cheek,
your pride.
as they say.
All right? Swallow your pride. All right? And then when someone says something nasty to you, just say something nice back and leave it at that.
Choke on the rind.
I don't know what that means, but
Feel it, keep it empty
Stick
inside.
it in your ear.
You were
One of
spitting some
my-
sweet lyrics.
My favorite
well, I mean,
advice,
quite literally, like a
Eat
lot
six.
of people will be like, I'm not. This person slighted me. I'm not going to. And I'm saying, yeah, swallow your pride. It means like, don't stand up and be like, I refuse to accept. No. You have to accept that in strategy and being a tactician requires winning. Winning is not someone insults you, so you insult them back. All you're doing is flinging mud. If you really want to win and someone insults you, you be nice to them and completely stop the fight. The fight you win is the fight you don't engage in. So So that's what I'm saying.
Well, an interesting thing also to consider, to add to what you were saying, Ian, is at the bottom level or the top level of Christianity, like I don't think a lot of them practicing understand how crazy this is. Like they actually think that they will be resurrected, like actually, and not in an abstract way. They mean like bodily, like in X thousand years.
Yeah, but I'm not sure.
A lot of people probably don't believe it, or
I
it's
think,
too crazy.
I think that when I talk to the learned religious folk, they don't say stuff like that.
It's too weird. But
well, it's
that
disturbing
is
because there's the thing of if you're a servant and you let yourself be controlled now, later you'll be a king, and you're like, that's just a manipulation tactic to get people to serve, I believe.
One could say that. I mean, biblically speaking, one could try to argue that those verses were added later on down the road. Like when you look at the different manuscript translations, and they have found a lot of old manuscripts that are super, super close to when the disciples had written most of the New Testament, the apostle. And it's pretty much, they have not changed very much.
Yeah,
over
consciousness, dude, is going to rise. Your spirit is alive and active. Well, maybe not alive in the sense of our bodies, but it's a momentous organism, you could say. It's not, of course, it's not an organism. It's not carbon based, but whether you're a slave in life or you're a hero in life, your soul is still going to live on. It's still going to be there after.
Well, in that sense, too, like you could just say the Christian is embodying what Jesus did by Jesus still lives on through them, by them continuing what he said and basically promised. So and to go back to why an American would stand their ground and why we love standing our ground culturally, we are certain that by doing that, the next generations who inherit America from us are going to benefit by copying that behavior. I'm going to stand my ground and not retreat, and that will probably end up preserving the country, as opposed to if I keep backing away and ceding ground to enemies who keep trying to push me, they don't even have to fight me and they'll win the ground. But if I stand my ground and force them to fight and engage me, it's going to get ugly, and maybe it's going to cost them more than they want to pay. And I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, and forcing people to take, they say turn the other cheek. It's like, no, I am in fact willing to let you hit me, and I'm daring you now to hurt me even more, because eventually that will make me win by default. You are the aggressor, you lose. Like, look what happened to Rome. It became Christian because it was originally a secret religion and you were killed for believing it, but eventually it became the religion of Rome because, among other reasons, they were persecuting them so hard, everybody became a Christian.
So I think about this with the raid on Donald Trump, and it looks like they're trying to indict him on something. I said it before. A lot of world leaders, historical leaders, good and bad, the persecution led them to rise to power.
Yeah.
Good leaders that we like in history and bad leaders we don't like in history. Making someone into a political martyr doesn't tend to work out for their enemies.
It makes you look like, hey, why are you being mean to him? I'm going to go support him. I want to support the underdog.
I think that's why this attempted complete decimation of Alex Jones and InfoWars as a whole is miscalculated. I think there is if you are part of the Sandy Hook families, it's much more emotional. I think there are politics behind it, but of course it's more complicated. But I think ultimately they need Alex Jones to not become a martyr, so they need a complete wipeout. They can't leave any remnants of what he's left behind, because in a lot of ways he was a gateway for a lot of people to become supporters of Donald Trump, and they can't have that again.
I think it was James Lindsay who mentioned on the show that he was on a plane with a woman, and then she said that she didn't like Trump, but this raid against him was wrong, and it was a step too far.
Right.
Yeah.
They shocked the system hard, and I think let's actually just jump to the story. Okay, so we have this from the Wall Street Journal. Judge orders Justice Department to release redacted affidavit leading to search of Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. I'll put it simply for you guys. The affidavit is mostly redacted. We don't even know half of the stuff in there is. From the sounds of it, Donald Trump's people were in communications with the National Archives. They said, you have stuff that you took from the White House that's, part of the archives. The boxes, Trump had 15, contained newspaper clippings, magazines, personal memos, and some classified information.
Women's underwear.
Perhaps. Donald Trump's people returned those boxes. The FBI then said, when they were told by the National Archives, they believed that was probable cause, that Donald Trump still had more stuff in his house, and therefore they should raid him. They then found 11 packets of documents and took them because they were classified. Kash Patel mentioned the president declassified these things. They shouldn't have taken them. It sounds like they knew Trump had Crossfire Hurricane, Russiagate documents that were going to potentially implicate, or at the very least besmirch, the name of the FBI. And they needed an excuse to go in, check, or seize. This sounds dangerously corrupt and dirty. And I don't know. I mean, did Donald Trump not have copies of whatever these documents were? He's an old guy, so maybe. But I don't know if I believe there was any reason that would warrant what they did at Trump's house, because he was cooperating. He'd already turned over these items.
Yeah, that's like if there was a gun recall and they're like, turn in your guns, and you turn in your gun, and then they're like, hey, that's evidence that you might have more guns. We're going to break into your house and check. Like, what? No. I did what you asked. I returned the item. Maybe it had been if you're like, return your contraband items. If there's like a drug recall, return your cocaine. You return it, you get rid of it. Like there are societies where they're like, here, dispense it there. Then they use that as a reason to go check that's insanity. No.
I just think it's unrealistic to think any government entity asks you to turn in something with blinders on, right? They never granted anyone immunity. They asked him to turn in something and it immediately gave them cause. If you turned in drug paraphernalia or guns, of course, then they're going to be like, well, we know you have a history of owning drug paraphernalia or guns. We're going to continue down this road.
How about that completely fake story about nuclear documents?
Oh, yeah.
The Washington Post was like, they were looking for nuclear documents. And then I see all these leftists, and they're like, Trump stole 300 nuclear documents and the right's defending him. And then it turns out the warrant was just like, we would like all documents at any point during your presidency that you may have. It's like, okay, well, they were looking for literally anything. It's called a fishing expedition. They gave themselves a broad warrant to take whatever they wanted. It really does sound like they're scared that those documents from Crossfire Hurricane will get out. Now, I have to wonder this. Why didn't Trump just release them if that's the case? Perhaps Trump was preparing an October surprise when he was announcing he would be running for president, and then he would say, boom, here's the story. And they wanted to stop him.
That would make sense.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think it's also notable, we talked about this a little bit before, but they didn't leak this. I mean, Trump is the one who announced to the world that they were raiding his house. This was not leaked to the press beforehand. I don't think the FBI wanted anyone to know this is what they were doing.
They wanted to turn off the surveillance cameras and stuff, I remember.
Yeah.
They wanted it to be, they wanted to have the element of surprise and, have this happen clandestinely until they had decided what they had found to then tell you about it. And again, Donald Trump kind of interrupted that narrative by being like, no, they're at my house. Let's all pay attention to this. And everyone was shocked by it. I mean, I don't think anyone had a clear explanation. I think on the left, there was a lot of scrambling to come up with a good reason why they would have done this, especially when they knew he wasn't there. That was one of the things that bothered me. It was known that he was in New Jersey because of a golf tournament at the time. Yeah.
Yep.
They specifically picked a time when he wouldn't be there to do this.
The same FBI team that oversaw the Russia investigation raids his house to take documents that people are saying was from the Russia investigation. Sounds like there's corruption afoot.
Yeah, they've been on the track to start this, to transition to a new world order, reduce, I don't know what they're doing with the American military bases, but just from the liberal world order to the new world order. And Donald Trump was slowing it down. And then so behind the scenes, they're like, we just don't want him slowing us down. But in public, they're like, he's a villain, so hate him so that you don't elect him again.
No, I mean, he said he was going to dismantle a lot of that stuff anyway in his second term if he ever got one or something like that.
That's right. I'm looking forward to it.
So. We were saying that desperation leads to mistakes, and there's no way we can look at this aside from this was a mistake. They're making moves that suggest that if they didn't do it, they would get dismantled. So we may as well do something really crazy to try to save ourselves, because if we don't, we're going to lose anyway. So they're losing reputation by doing things like this.
I think if we start being honest with ourselves and each other, that it's inevitable, man. We're globalizing. This world is coming together in a new way. We're not going to be the king of the hill. We're never supposed to be the top leader ever. We're part of it.
Well, I'm okay with America. I mean, I'm ignorant, so when I say this, take it with a grain of salt. I'm okay with America just kind of cooling it off a little bit. Let's focus on ourselves, getting it together here for a little while before, it's like that verse, not to quote too many things, of before you tell your friend, hey, you've got a plank in your eye, or no, you've got a speck of dust. I've got a plank in my eye. How about America cleans its own act up before telling the rest of the world how to operate themselves. And if the rest of the world wants to drive themselves into a hole and a socialist nightmare, whatever, the downside to that is that we lose access to resources and, our advantage across the planet. But maybe we need to focus on ourselves for a little while to clean up.
America's been acting like, it's this dude who's got a bunch of credit card debt, can't pay it off, keeps taking out more loans instead, and then going around and just yelling at the neighbors about how they got to pay up and give them money.
Yeah.
And
Or it's like me going to your house and saying, I don't like where your furniture is. Let me start moving things around, but my house is a mess.
Well, I think, just to be a little bit more specific, the U.S. is just like riddled with debt and then basically just printing money behind the scenes to satiate its addictions while criticize, it's just...
They're either assuming
broken system.
All right, so they're going to pass on that debt to the next generation. So maybe they're assuming that the next generation is going to do really good, and our kids will be able to pay that bill. That's the optimistic way.
That's
to look
modern
at it.
monetary theory: is that you print enough, go into deficit, and that you are able to build enough industry and infrastructure that the product starts to outweigh the debt, and eventually you bypass the investiture.
Yeah.
But the problem is that we haven't been investing it in industry properly in the last 10 years.
That's the lie. That's what they want you to think to make it make sense. They want you to think that, no, look, we're going to deficit spend. I know, you're right, it's bad. But we're going to build these factories and it's going to make up for it. No, there always has to be more debt. There always has to be more debt to keep the machine churning. And all they do is it's a Ponzi scheme. Remember when Obama did that stimulus where he just basically gave people money? It's like, all right, everybody get free money. Then they did it again. They did it with COVID. It's like, everybody here, more free money. Now they're talking about how disposable income is so high that people are not working. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And now they're doing debt forgiveness. I look at the student debt forgiveness stuff, and I think it's in line with their policy of just throwing money at people. And I wonder why that is.
Well, I also think it's part of their policy of, we're going to give you the good headlines, right? But Joe Biden's going to be the I left Afghanistan and canceled student debt president. But it's a soundbite. None of it is real. I mean, as you have said before.
It's more than that. They gave free money unemployment. They gave free money bonus checks. They deferred student loans, and now they're paying student loans. They're doing a whole bunch of things that basically just distribute wealth to other to people.
It's monopoly money.
They're just but like they're flooding the system. Yeah. It's going to cause hyperinflation and destroy it. It feels like it's on purpose. When Biden's like, I'm going to cancel student debt. It's like after you already gave all of these people free money for not working, you deferred their payments, gave them unemployment guarantees with bonuses on top, and they did not pay their debts. Oh, but they didn't have to. Now their debts are kicking back in. Don't worry, we delayed another 4 months. And we're going to pay down 10 grand of it. It's like, why didn't they just use the money they were getting for free to pay down what they had to pay down? They just keep throwing money at people. And where's that money coming from? Your pocket.
The Federal Reserve. It's what's happening is they're getting it from the Federal Reserve, and then so they'll borrow $1 from the Federal Reserve, but then we owe $1.01 back. So where's that 1 cent come from? The Federal Reserve. So now you owe interest on the money you took out to pay the interest. That's the Ponzi scheme.
Tax money does go to the federal government. They do use your money, and then they deficit spend by borrowing money and doing fractional reserve money creation stuff. But a lot of the money that's being distributed is literally just your tax dollars that went to the government. So the funny thing is right now, these leftists are like, if you forgive student loan debt, you're just erasing the debt from the books. It's like, you are correct, but that means the money that we gave you, our money, is not coming back. You have taken our money from us. Now, I'm in favor of getting rid of the interest rates and trying to alleviate the student debt problem for sure. But taking money from the working class to pay for the laptop class does not sound like, good policy.
The more steps that you have, it obscures what you're doing, and it just confuses people. Like, if I read a headline, I'll just read the headline. I'm not going to really look into it deeply. Most people are very low resolution when it comes to reading the news or even understanding the news. I don't have time to read deeply. That's why I watch the news in the first place. I want the quick story so I can quickly understand what's going on. And the more steps, they're doing it on purpose. The more steps are involved, John Doe, going to work every day 9 to 5. He's exhausted. He's got his kids. He's got his hobbies. He's tired all the time. He doesn't need to be thinking about all this. And some of them, they package it in such a way that I'm happy. Oh, minimum wage is now $15. That's great.
Yeah.
But wait, why is milk now $5 when it used to be $2?
Well, let's never forget the Inflation Reduction Act. I mean, Joe Biden wants to be the headline president where he's giving you these, like, do you remember all those good
It's all
things I
surface
passed?
level.
It all
I love
surface
it.
level.
I
He
love
doesn't
it.
want anyone to look into it. And ultimately, he is causing extreme damage in his wake. But he's going to come around and be like, no, the Democrats are the party of reducing inflation and, like, forgiving student loans.
This is the one thing that would make me want to run for office, is that if you're in Congress, you can come out there and be like, I'm proposing the Help the Small Babies Act.
Save the kitties.
And what does the bill do? It like takes $20 from every paycheck so that I can buy myself a house. Like just really egregiously awful things. It would be like the bill just basically says Tim Pool gets $20 of every American's paycheck and will be rich, but it's called like the Save the Dying Children Act. Like, why won't you vote for this?
What's wrong with you?
There was a comic and it's like the Free Beer Act. Did you see this one?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so when do I get a free beer? And it's like, what do you mean free beer? The Free Beer Act just raises your taxes by 2%.
Yeah. Well, I call it low resolution versus high resolution. Most people, I mean, I'm stealing this from Peterson, sort of, but most people don't have time to, in graphics terms, a high resolution image takes more time to render. So CPU wise, if I have to read a full page of text to understand what this bill is versus just give me the headline, that's the low resolution version.
But the problem with low resolution is you lose resolution.
All the detail.
Well, and when you see this with articles, it'll have the big headline that's flashy. It'll have the first couple of lines that have information. But any information that sort of sways or gives partisan, like if a publication wants you to have a certain view on an issue, they put it in the top third of the article because that's about as far as you're going to read. Yeah. And all the nuanced details are in the bottom two-thirds.
The bad news is in the...
Right.
Yeah.
Anything that may contradict their claims. And that's because they know that people won't read that far. They just, I mean, there's so much media and so much information coming out at all times right now. It's actually very difficult to stay well informed on everything. So I can't really fault the general public for that, but
it's how the human mind works.
Right. It's the easiest way to sway someone.
But they're playing the game in such a way that, like, Democrats, I'll give them credit for this. Most people don't have time to think about things this deeply. The average person, you can call them stupid, but actually they're just busy probably. Mm-hmm. That's why I mean, not to toot my own horn too much, but that's why comics work so well, is because they say, like, a picture is worth 1,000 words, let's say. But my comics have 4 panels. So
4,000 words.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's like a zip file. I don't remember if I've said this before. A comic is like a zip file. It's cross-referencing with like hyperlinks that you might have read a story about this. Now you're seeing 4 images that are related to that story. But now you're thinking about other things that these images are now recalling memories from your memory, and you're now filling in the blanks. So my 4 images are now giving you a full essay in the span of 5 seconds, maybe less. That's why images are so powerful, and that's why headlines are powerful, and that's why Twitter, I've said this forever, Twitter is comics. Yeah. It's just every tweet is like a panel. You're scrolling. You're getting maybe an image. That's why I will often attach an image to my tweets, because it makes you stop scrolling. What's this image? It's very shocking to look at.
When I worked
real quick, we pulled this panel up, this comic from George.
This comic.
We have this comic hanging on our wall. It's right to the left of George. Actually, you can't see it, but it's Joe Biden, and he says it is estimated that 200 million people will die by the time I finish that talk, and that time is now. And then he fires force lightning from his hands and just electrocutes everyone in the crowd. It's hilarious, and they're like, their eyes are glowing, and there's lightning everywhere.
This is like a misspeak of Biden too.
He literally said this.
Yeah.
He literally said.
He didn't say this time is now, but
no, I know, but that's the point. Like, people who see this are going to be like, "What's this about?"
Yeah.
And then someone's going to say, like, that first panel is an actual quote from Joe Biden.
He was talking about COVID deaths, I believe, and that
Yes.
he accidentally said 200 million when he meant 200,000 or 2 million.
No. What he meant was, he said it is what he meant to say was, it is estimated that by the time I finish this talk, there will be. Yeah, no, you're right. He was going to say, by the time I finish this talk, X amount of people will have died.
Yeah,
right.
But it was like only 200,000 or something. It was a lower number, but he said 200 million.
He said
No. He said will die, not will have died.
Oh God.
all his tenses are wrong.
It keeps getting
That's
better.
why it's important to have a good editor.
I know, right?
Thanks for bringing this up.
But I just love how he just the last panel of the guy screaming with like he's like ah, Just being electrocuted by Biden's force lightning.
So what we're doing is, as we're scrolling, let's say I see this in my Twitter. Nobody ever thinks about this, but it's what comics is. I'm scrolling. I see someone getting electrocuted. I laugh. I'm now bypassing all the firewalls, and you're like, I don't remember what the
Frontal cortex?
I'm going straight to your amygdala. I'm going into your deep brain. You're laughing. You don't even know why yet. Now you're reading, and now you're downloading that zip file that I gave you.
And it says Valor Margulis on his
Harris Biden.
Harris
I love
Biden.
I love it.
I don't know the neurology about laughter and how it affects.
Same with crying and fear. If I go boo, you're not thinking, oh, I'm going to be scared. It's just a reflex.
This plays into what we were talking about earlier with why we're doing music. We're creating funny, relatable, or entertaining spaces.
That's what the arts are.
This is what regular people associate with. This is what I was explaining earlier on one of my segments when I was shouting out the song we did. When I used to do nonprofit fundraising, if you saw somebody like Ian in the street and you walked up to him and went, "Excuse me, sir, just a moment of your time," and shook his hand and said, "No, I got a proposal for you right now," he'd be like, "Bro, what are you talking about?" You got to walk up to someone like Ian and go, "Bro," high five him and be like, "Listen here, bro. You want to save the trees, right?"
Every day.
You got to talk to. You have to meet people where they are.
Relatable.
Yes.
You can't walk up to a guy in a suit looking like Ian and then being like, "Sup, bro? You want to save some trees?" He's gonna be like, "I'm busy. I have no idea." You got to walk up to the guy who's a no nonsense guy and be no nonsense. "Listen, I'll get 5 seconds. We got to save trees. I need you to pitch in. You're gonna do it. Shake my hand, buddy." You have to meet people where they are.
To the left's credit.
If you go to someone with a MAGA hat on and a Trump flag and start saying, "Listen, you need to understand, Donald Trump, and Joe Biden," they're going to be like, "I have no idea who you are. I don't know what you're on about, and this is confusing to me." But if you approach them from where they are, you notice that they've got like a Cubs hat. You could be like, "Cubs, what up, man? You from Chicago?" Be like, "Oh, dude, I got family from Chicago." Meet them where they are, open a conversation, and then find out where you can come together and you can share those important ideas. That's what art does. Mm-hmm. People will see this, and whether you're political or not, it's funny. Joe Biden's electrocuting a bunch of people. But it opens the door.
It can stimulate things like empathy. Here's a story that maybe you wouldn't have been open to the message of the story, but I have told it in such a way that now you're, oh yeah, I do relate to those characters. I do feel bad for them, or I do feel what they're feeling, and now I'm starting to think the way they are.
I relate to Joe Biden here wanting to use force lightning to vaporize 200 million people.
Just coming out of him,
wow,
yeah.
okay.
I saw that and I was like, I know exactly how you feel, Joe.
Me too.
Well misspoken.
I think we have this illusion that people are more politically engaged because politics has seeped into so much of our culture. It's in our popular culture. It's bled into art. We hear about it a lot, and I think that's true even of people who don't work in my field. But actually, most people aren't that interested. They do like comics. They like things that are more accessible to them. So I think you're totally right that having something, if I were to send someone a CNN headline or a Fox News headline, they might already have their guard up. Whereas art or something that they're interested in on a medium that they're already scrolling through, Twitter, is much more accessible and also more enjoyable because they don't feel like they're going to be immediately sorted into some sort of category.
Well, the news a lot of the time is very dry, and I just don't want to download all this information. Mm-hmm. But if I'm online scrolling, maybe I'm on the toilet or something, I'm on the bus, I just want to be entertained. I want to laugh, I want to smile, I want to see something interesting.
I want to be entertained when I'm on the toilet.
That's right.
I used to have these things called bathroom readers that were like at my house. And they're just books full of random trivia that you're supposed to read when you're taking a dump.
Yeah, I got one in my bathroom. Says, "What is your poo telling you?" Is the name of the book.
Okay, well that's not
really
what I was
helpful.
reading. The book I read was just
were.
It was called The Bathroom Reader, and it had on the bottom of every page a factoid, and then it had chapters of random stories and legends and facts, and it just filled my brain up with random nonsense.
Is that why you know the name of that law? Betterage's
Well, that's
law,
a
whatever?
journalism thing. I despise the corporate press so much that I've
Burned into your brain.
Yes, how can I criticize them today?
What do you guys think about removing titles from bills, just having them numbered?
I think we get too confusing.
I think bills should be chopped up into the individual things that they're trying to pass and not turned into omnibuses.
Yeah. The Confederates had that, didn't they?
They did, yeah. This is actually really interesting. They had something that said something like it has to be a really short summary.
One
a
page,
blurb.
something like
They're
that.
busy.
Bill
They
One,
had stuff
one
to do.
issue can address one issue.
Exactly.
But then what?
But they know they can't inject all their stupid crap in there.
Because you could, even with one section of a bill, you could still call it the Happy Lucky Bill, and then all about
You
people.
give me $100.
It's a bill
Falling
called
down.
the Saving Ian and Helping Him Live a Happy Life bill, but the bill calls for the imprisonment.
for me to chop wood all day.
Yeah, like to be imprisoned. And then it's like, well, because we think that'll be good for him.
Yeah, yeah.
You think you're helping.
I don't like
That's
the
what they do.
names. They're very manipulative.
Oh,
they
the
are.
Patriot Act. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
It's garbage.
And
But
people fall for it.
there was one more thing I wanted to add on that subject too, is the fact that the left has annexed all of the arts. It was not an accident. They know that people are bored of news. The only way to, it's like Inception, to give you the thoughts that I want to give you, I'm going to tell you a story or a parable. So they will spend millions and bazillions of dollars creating movies, writing stories, songs, anything related to the arts. And that's why they've taken over all of the arts. I'm not joking. They've taken over all of the arts because that's how you can persuade people without even, they don't even know it.
And they know that it's much harder to convince someone who does know to invest in those spaces. What do you see across the board among those who are aware of what's going on? Everything they do is political. This is what frustrates me. We get a bunch of really great songs, and I'm not saying it's bad. You know, the top ranking songs overtly political. FJB, like 3 different FJB songs reach top. Okay, that's still a net positive because regular people will see like how come the top songs are FJB, but they're not going to convince most people. It does create some awareness. People who are aware, red pilled, whatever you want to call it, it's harder to convince them to say like, hey, subscribe to a children's channel that's like family education content, because they're going to be like, how is this engaging in the battle to fight against these ideas? Because it seems counterintuitive. But it's exactly what the left has been doing to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars.
For decades, maybe a century,
decades.
over a century. I mean, they did it to Hollywood. They're doing it with music. I mean, when we were kids, they were always talking in church about, all this music's all about sex all the time. But we are now seeing what happens when culture's hypersexualizing young people, let's say. We're seeing what happens when that is unchecked. We don't know. Like, I love manga, for instance. If I go to the manga section, like, a lot of young people love it and stuff. But those stories are actually, a lot of them can be pretty raunchy and, like, super rated, X and stuff like that. I could go to a local library. I was telling a young person in my life, hey, you should go to the library and read these mangas, but definitely don't read these ones. I can't stop them from doing that. But when they have access to entertainment that is, let's say there's an agenda to push certain subjects on young people, especially, because when they grow up, they will be more permissive towards these subjects. The parents don't even know what these kids have access to.
No, they don't. I also think the art used to be a polite way. Like, in polite culture, you wouldn't discuss politics or anything too controversial. So you talk about art, you talk about what's going on. And that was an easy way for certain ideologies to route into daily conversation.
Sneak it
They
in
just
there.
jumped around it. And because things are more blurred, and because we have so many, I'm thinking like celebrities who come out with these big public statements about their political beliefs, it's actually not the perfect escape route it once was. And I think it's waking conservatives up to the fact that, like, they abandoned this space before they even knew they could use it.
I mean,
Well,
they
hold
say
on, Ian, what was the number one song right now? You looked it up.
Oh
Remember?
yeah, I have it pulled up.
You have it pulled up?
Only Ever Wanted, I believe, by
No,
Timcast.
no.
Oh,
We wish.
yet.
Super Freaky Girl by Nicki Minaj.
Okay, I wonder what that's about. Honestly, I don't know, but it
It's
sounds
her
like.
looking pretty sexy in that picture. That's for sure.
Remember when Ben Shapiro rapped that famous song
I do
"Wet Ass
remember
Pussy"?
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it actually was
classic.
really funny because he like read the lyrics and then someone took him reading it and put it over the song. Actually, really funny.
Yeah, hilarious.
But do you wonder why it is that when you look at the top tracks, so often the songs are like not appropriate for kids, or that you actually have some artists that gloat and laugh at the idea that your kids listen to the horrible things they're talking about in this music? Dude, don't ask me why, but the right abandoned this space a long time ago, and it probably has something to do with telling kids like, you don't want to be a musician, that's a waste of a career, like you need to grow up and be a doctor or run a business.
They don't think that the arts, and I've been trying to convince them for the longest time, the arts are not a good investment, they might say. But there's that saying of politics are downstream from culture. When most young people who have more time than anybody else to consume media or anything like that, watch movies, anything, music, they have access to anything that you want to put into their brains without any supervision whatsoever.
Yeah, I think conservatives on some level too reward seriousness, or what they perceive as seriousness. And so often when you're interested in creative activities, it's like, well, unless you can prove to me that you can make money off this right away, it's something you do on the side and you enjoy the fun. Whereas like a credit to my friends who grew up in really liberal households. Their parents, when they were passionate about something, did take basically everything seriously. And there are pros and cons to both approaches, but I think that leaves the door open to people feeling like your art is incredibly important. You have to pursue it to the point where it becomes influential. Whereas, often the other approach is to say, like, wait until you have the funds to finance your life as an artist.
No, when I was younger, the liberals where I grew up were basically saying you can do whatever you want to do, dream big. You can, you want to be an actor, you want to play video games, whatever it is you want to do. The conservatives in my life were much more like, just work hard, get a good job, and make money.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's
then
no fun in there.
But you get a lot of people. So I know there are people that I knew that were very much into the arts when they were younger, but they had very conservative parents. I went to Catholic school for a little bit, and where are they now? They have family, they have some kids, and really, they're very happy. Good for them. I'm glad that they're leading a good life. And they're doing right by their kids. But this also means that many of these kids did not pursue the arts that they were involved in, and thus the people who did end up, why is it they all do drugs all the time? Where is it, where are the rock stars who are just like, oh man, I'm sober, I don't want to do any of that stuff, I'm just about living a good life and doing right by my friends and family and my community.
Sure. That's
like a rare thing to hear in like celebrity culture in Hollywood. They're doing drugs, they're like, just raunchy, you get it.
Have you ever seen have you ever seen the documentary The Other F Word? It's about these punk rockers who like become fathers and kind of what their experience is. It's really good. And a lot of them talk about, there's one in particular who talks about like being on tour all the time and like partying and the culture that comes with that. And he's like, but the thing is, like, when you have kids, like, you may be up until 4 a.m. doing drugs, doing whatever, but like your baby's going to be up at 6 and you have to get up with it. Mm-hmm. And so it's a shift in mindset. And I think that it is one of the challenges of being an artist, or a lot of careers have this, but like you have to sacrifice when you have other demands in your life. And I think a lot of especially popular left-leaning artists now don't have those kind of responsibilities because they defer becoming parents, and so they can continue to pursue this path and push the ideology.
I want to say the right is learning, but I don't know if that's really what's happening. I think what's happening is there are liberals who are joining the right. That people who were used to be into the arts and fairly left-leaning, who are either forced out or who saw how crazy the left was getting and moved out. So there's this movie coming out, My Son Hunter. Mm-hmm. Is that what it is? My Son Hunter, yeah. I think it's called.
It's called.
And the dude who put it together, I think he's the guy from Goonies, right?
I'm not sure. That's what you told me.
Robert Davey?
Yeah, that's all I know is what you told me. Yeah.
Guy from Goonies. So I'm thinking what's happening is that there are people who had the skills and know how to make this content, start realizing how crazy things are getting, and are bringing that art and culture to the right, and the right needs to support and embrace it. Like the Daily Wire, they get it. Yeah. They've repeatedly said that we're not making political stuff, we're just making shows and movies, and they're buying movies because they get it.
I think Jeremy, all those guys, man, Michael, Jeremy, they're an example of like perceptive tolerance. I'm not on the left. I mean, I was like, I guess you'd say a leftist. I was a liberal, like wacky, zany artist my whole life. And I just left because it was like, don't tell me I have white privilege. You got to use better words than that if you want to communicate with me. Yeah. But I'm not going to be sitting told that I'm an evil, I'm a demon. I'm not living that way. So I disassociated from those people. But people like Jeremy doesn't give. Like, he just loves people. He just likes cool people.
They hired a Disney executive to be their chief marketing officer. Cool. That means that this Disney executive now reports to a man who goes to church on Sunday.
Fascinating.
That's seriously taken over the space and taken it away from them. So I hope they can continue to grow and expand, because the Daily Wire really needs those smart TV apps. I know we do too, but I can just say, like, with the amount of resources they have, they're going to get there before we do. But we've been having a bunch of meetings about getting our mobile apps and our TV apps so that you can watch what shows we have as soon as possible, on your TVs.
I'm glad you brought up drugs earlier. I think that that's an important part of art and culture, and has been since the dawn of humanity. And part of why there's a stagnancy in the industry right now is from all the pharmaceutical drugs that have taken the place of THC, which has been illegal for 100 years for stupid, Anslinger made it illegal with that, what was that? William Randolph Hearst printing all his propaganda to make weed illegal because he owned all the paper mills and he didn't want hemp newspapers anymore. He wanted paper newspapers. So they like colluded and then got weed made illegal. And now they're, we had the resurgence with the LSD thing in the 60s, and you saw the Beatles, Elvis. I mean, it coked out of, I don't know what drugs Elvis was on, but I know he was on a lot of them. And all the amazing, beautiful art created in the 60s and 70s was like part of the drug revolution.
Well, part of the allure of drugs. I mean, I'm speaking as an artist in air quotes. I don't drink, I don't do drugs or anything like that. But I'm still very much. I understand that the whole point of drugs to these people is to expand your mind, make the world more interesting, like see the truth behind, people talk about DMT and all that stuff. And I'm interested in the stories. I'm not going to do it myself. But the whole idea is creating, you could say there's that personality trait openness and all that stuff. Openness to new experiences. And generally the right is not super open to new experiences because their position is that life is good enough, why change things? But by our nature, artists are explorers, and we need to be able to go to places that are forbidden, even if it's like illegal, if I'm going to smoke some whatever, because I want to see what happens, because I don't want to be stagnant. That's where you get that term rolling stone, which is ironic because now the left is now the stagnant side of things, and the rolling stone, which gathers no moss, is now the right. We're looking for a new way to move into the next century.
It's the problem with artists, and why a lot of artists fail, is because of the over exploration and the obsessiveness with drugs. Like, they don't know when to put it down. You need balance, and you have to be able to set it aside to create business if you want to be a successful artist.
You mentioned illegality, and there's a few very important things about this I talk about quite a bit. The law doesn't matter as much as the culture does. There are many things that are overtly illegal that our culture permits and completely is in movies, it's considered totally fine. I started watching Breaking Bad because I never actually watched it. I've only watched parts of it. And it's funny how in the first season, Walter White, he's the main character's got lung cancer, so he claims to be smoking pot, and they're all shocked by it. It's like, that's so weird, because you go to any major city, even before decriminalization and legalization, everybody, it was like movies talked about it. Look at the movie Half Baked with Dave Chappelle, a movie outright about a bunch of stoners. Like, that movie is literally a cultural icon, and it's about a bunch of dudes committing repeated felonies. Like, it's a crazy idea if you think about it.
I thought Breaking Bad was cancer propaganda, like the cancer industry propaganda, because in the show he's always like, I need to get the treatment, and the idea is if he ever gets the treatment, the cancer will be gone.
Have you watched it?
I watched like 8 episodes.
I don't think
of
you
it.
watched it.
Yeah, I watched him
because the
obsessed
first season
with the treatment.
He's like, I refuse. I won't
He's
take
like,
it.
I want to get. And then he's like, I need to get the treatment. His wife's like, you got to get the treatment. It's all about the treatment.
Wasn't it he couldn't afford it?
And then all of a sudden weed was bad in the movie.
Let me just,
in the show.
That's true, but I just want to say, like, I'm only on like episode 7, and a lot of people probably know more. But he outright says to her, I will not spend the rest of my days lying there listlessly gagging. I won't do it.
Well, the premise of the first season, spoiler, I guess, alert, is that he's trying to get money to pay for the cancer treatment. That's the kind of the premise of the show, and what leads him into the drug industry.
I don't think that's true.
That's why he's making meth, is to get money
I
to
don't
buy
think you watched the show.
Cancer treatment.
He turns down free money.
Yeah, but he's, his wife wants him to get the treatment. It's
and then his colleague says, I'll pay for everything, and he says no. And it's more so about he breaks free from, he's like, I'm awake now. And that's in like episode 2. His business partner comes and says, don't worry, everything's covered. And he goes, no. He rejects it and then says, I don't want the treatment. I will not spend my last days lying in bed as a burden to you. I won't do it. Then she convinces him to do it. And then it's sort of about how he wants this money, but he gets instantly he gets way more money than he needs. I don't think the show is about him. I'm only on like episode 7, but it's like right away, before he's even doing the drug dealing, he's talking about how good he feels breaking the law. And then he bangs his wife outside of a school meeting, and she's like, why was it so good? He goes, because it was illegal. It's not, he doesn't need the money. I think that was the point they were trying to make.
No, he needs the treatment.
We're
being told that he needs.
Really,
if
we're
he gets
looking
the
at
treatment, then it will be cured. Is what we're being.
Walter White is 2 characters, though. He's not just Walter White. He's also Heisenberg. So you're looking at the Carl Jung thing of the man versus his shadow, and who eventually takes over. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's really, you've got the milk toast, whatever there. The Walter White is, fairly timid, and then the Heisenberg comes out of him in the later seasons as he becomes more aggressive, and he finds people who test him. He essentially has to put Walter White away and become this other person in order to survive. Because now in the first season, he's fighting cancer, but in the future seasons, he's fighting people who are not only threatening his life, but people around him.
So I'm only in the beginning seasons, but it's very obvious from the very first episodes that what's driving him is the exhilaration he gets from being put in these, he's adrenaline rush.
That's the Heisenberg character starting to emerge. That's an interesting philosophy.
It's the symbol of my shadow is taking over me now.
I saw this episode when it first aired, the Fulminated Mercury episode, and it's just so good. Have you seen that one? He goes to Tuco, and then he's like,
where he goes tight.
He goes walk up, and he's like, I want $50,000, and then he starts laughing. He's like 35 for the meth you stole, and 15 for my partner's, pain and suffering.
He's a gangster.
And then Tuco laughs, and he's like, you come here, you make demands, you bring more meth, and he's like. He grabs it. It's not meth. And then he throws it. It explodes. When he gets back in the car, he goes, rah! Yeah, it was very much about him
that's
feeling
Walter White dying.
powerful. Yeah.
He's not Walter White anymore.
But anyway, my point was just
the character
outright.
is actually called White. The name is White, like white light.
Yeah, I'm sure that's on purpose.
My point was just that a lot of people claim the show is about a guy who's dying of cancer and needs money for a treatment. But
no, not that the whole show's about that. I'm just saying that insidious message was in there, I thought.
But it's not.
Well, it was in the first season for sure.
No, you're wrong.
That's the purpose. That's why he got into the whole thing to begin. That was the inciting incident. He got cancer. They needed to get an expensive cancer treatment. Where am I going to get the money?
He didn't want the treatment. He refused it.
But his wife wanted it because we were being told, and Walter is being told.
Before that happened, because I don't think
Walter's in denial.
I'm just confused. I did you watch it or not?
I watched about 7, 8 episodes.
Because I literally watched. I'm watching it last night, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but he goes to his partner's house. And he says, I will pay for everything. And Walter says, no. And then he tells his family in the next scene.
Well, that's Heisenberg talking.
But then in the next scene, he says, I'm not going to live this way. He doesn't need to sell meth to pay for the treatment. The point was he was choosing to be, he was exhilarated by being this bad guy.
That happens, yeah. But in like the first 3 episodes, he's like a weak guy, and he's like, I'm scared, and his wife's like, I'm scared. Get the money. We need money. You need the treatment. And I was like, God, there's so much. Because I know chemo can destroy bodies.
I'm pretty sure the entire reason he started collecting money was not for the treatment, was but to give his family money. So like,
that's what I've never seen.
Right.
I've only seen a couple episodes, but that's what I thought it was. I thought he wanted to be able to he didn't want to go out chemo is really demanding on the body. He didn't want to be suffering and kind of undignified. Yeah. And I could be totally wrong. But I don't remember how many kids he has, but he wanted to leave them with something. And that goes into the if I know that I'm ultimately going to die, what do I have to lose?
Oh, yeah. That was another thing I didn't like.
That's the first
cancer
episode,
they were acting like cancer was a death sentence. I don't like that propaganda.
But
it's really a study of what would you do if you were in this situation.
So he has stage 3 lung cancer or something.
He's probably eating too much cheese.
Metastasized, perhaps. And I think the first episode, his motivation for selling the drugs was because he wanted to give his family money. And then when he died, they'd have something. Not that he wanted to save himself. When his partner offers to pay for it all, he says, no, I don't want it. And then he goes and he walks out with a bag of 50 grand. Now he's doing it because it's making him feel good. But I don't think he ends up starting to get the treatment because his wife begs him to do it. But it was he had the money.
And then I didn't watch this far, but I don't want to spoil any more of it.
It's a 14-year-old show,
Yeah. All right. So the reason the whole show is popular anyway, why do people love the anti-hero archetype so much? The idea of becoming, there are things that we can do, all of us, that are dark and cruel and wrong that would benefit us in the short term. But why don't we do it? Because we live in a society. It would be wrong to do it. But what happens if someone gets pushed? How can you... that's why the show's popular. It asks you, what would have to happen to you to push you beyond the point where it's like, I don't care if this is wrong anymore. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get mine. But then the show also, I think it dropped a ball in the later seasons. It doesn't ask what are the consequences of all the things, how does it affect all the people that you victimized, let's say.
We're going to go to Super Chats if you haven't already, instead of debating Breaking Bad. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and share the show with your friends. Head over to timcast.com, become a member, but also it would be a great help to us if you would click the link in the description below and purchase the song Only Ever Wanted, 69 cents. It is cost effective and easy to get. And we actually don't need that much to have an impact in the music space. I think that if everybody spent that 69 cents, a good number, right? Elon Musk would love it. Then we would force these institutions to recognize that, you know, we can make moves in this space, and at the very least, let them retreat from it. Tom MacDonald has been absolutely destroying the music industry in a way that they're forced to write articles about him, and they're like, is conservative rap a thing? And it's like, oh, surprise, surprise.
Sure
I don't even think the dude's a conservative. I think he's just pointing out y'all are nuts, and it's working. But
Christian metal's a thing.
Christian metal. But it's not about, I think it's not like, look, if you want really effective Christian music, look at Creed. They were big Christians, weren't they?
They were, I believe.
I have heard that, yes.
But they wrote songs that appealed to regular people, and it worked for them.
So good.
It's almost like Christians are people.
Crazy. That's crazy.
Crazy
But
thing.
look, if you write a song where you outright, like, you know, raise your hands and praise the Lord.
That doesn't, no, nobody can relate to it. That's
Exactly.
not already doing that.
But if you say
audience.
arms wide open, I welcome you to this world or whatever.
Or just write a
that's-
love song.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Ready to Rumble says, Tim literally paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to get people to play with him in a band. I did not nearly spend that much money.
What?
But we're investing heavily. Maybe I should do like an announcement like Daily Wire did and be like, we're dedicating X, you know, amount of dollars towards.
For the record, I played
label.
music with Tim before he ever paid me any money.
Yeah.
And it's just the company that pays us both.
And we're actually, it's the other way, like we are paying a lot of money to get people to play music, but we're going to be producing other people's music at our cost. So it's like, you know, Ian's got songs he's going to record that are his own thing that we are paying for him to do.
You guys are so amazing.
Ian's got a really good song. What's that song that I really like?
Frequent Measure. And there's
Measure.
versions of it on YouTube. Check out if you want to hear. But I can't wait to do it with Pete on drums. The guy's a maniac.
Justin says, bro, good song. Gave me goosebumps. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. Paul Thongcam says, listen to the new single. It was good. Then see your song it for 69 cents. I see what you did there. We didn't do anything. You get three options, 69 cents, 99 cents, or $1.29.
And of course.
What we want is maximum sales. We're less concerned about making a bunch of money off the music, but that's the lowest you can sell it for.
Sell it for $4.20.
That's a lot to sell a song for.
You know
That's
what?
how much
though?
they'll sell
People
the
are
album
crazy
for.
and they would do it.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
$4.20.
Because we're in the era of streaming and no longer purchasing, purchasing is 150 times that of a stream. So it's like 69 cents is the equivalent of listening to the song 150 times, which is just like massively powerful.
Maybe
for
we can do
helping the
10
song.
songs at 69 cents each, or get the album for $4.20.
Do you ever?
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Do you guys consider doing physical copies, like signed
Yes,
stuff?
we're gonna do
Lately I haven't.
vinyls.
Send them goodies.
Yeah, I want to do vinyls.
Cool cover, sign it.
Yep.
Laser etched.
Yeah,
All sorts of cool ideas.
We're getting a machine to print our own vinyls.
nice.
Yeah, so you can record yourself. You can go in and press record, and it'll scratch the vinyl in real time, and it goes for like 2.5 minutes, I think. But then we can also put, you know, we can't put this song's 4.5 minutes long, so you know. All right. Prefer Rumble says, when we live at a time where definitions are changed and truth is ignored in order to steer the narrative, how do we present the truth in ways to bust the narrative? Any tips for breaking the ice? I will tell you this. As I was saying earlier, you have to meet people where they are. You can't expect them to come to where you are. So breaking the ice is actually simple. The first step towards making friends and influencing people is rapport, meaning find a way that you and someone else can connect. That's the easiest way to do it. When I used to do fundraising, it was actually really easy. You'd see somebody wearing a band t-shirt, and whatever the band was, you would just, oh man, you're wearing a Metallica, bro. I used to Enter Sandman was like the second song I ever learned how to play.
Oh, what a good song.
That's true though. And I was a little kid, and I was like, I could play that. It was like easy enough, but cool enough. I was really excited, and I was like, yeah, look, I can play this song. But you see someone, you open with that, and you build rapport. Like, hey, look, we share this in common. You know, we are people, we are together. That's how you break the ice. Once you have a rapport with people, now they're willing to listen because they feel that you're operating in good faith. So there are a lot of people I know who are like on the left, and they might say nasty things to me, but I only respond with nice things and support for their work, and it opens the door, and then we can have that conversation. And I can't change their minds and convince them overnight that some of these ideas are crazy, but I can show them news articles which will show them, you know, maybe I was wrong about that, at least a little bit.
Yeah, I get the whenever someone says something that I'm relating to, like say we have dinner and we're talking about it, they say something I don't agree with, rather than say, no, I won't, I do not negate what they're saying, I'll say interesting, and then maybe offer some other idea
I think
as well.
the other thing is, like, if people start saying, like, don't quiet. You don't have to argue, but like if someone is like, oh, I really believe this, you can ask them more about it and be honest about how you feel about it. I think so often people are afraid of conflict that they just don't say like, oh, I don't see it that way.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of conversation is, I mean, if you think of two cities trying to interact with each other, if you come at someone with your shield up and they put their shield up, there's not going to be a lot of exchange of, hey, let's shake hands now. They're going to have their firewalls up. So let's say you got two cities that are trading a little bit. You get to know each other. You trust each other. So when you make friends, you're really just trying to, like, I don't know you guys ultra well, but the more time I spend with you, the more I like you, the more maybe I'll open up. Initially, when I first met you guys, my defenses were up. I was scared, you know.
We actually fought. We boxed.
Yeah, it was intense.
Yeah.
Do you suggest?
I remember
friendly.
No, the first time
sanctioned
I came here, maybe a year or something ago, I remember I was asking, hey, should I wear a mask? And the first thing I think you asked me was, do you think all people are the same, or something like, do you think some people are better than others? I'm like, nice to meet you, Tim.
That's a Michael
I like
Malice
your show.
thing.
Right. So it was very shocking to me. So it put my guard up, and then, you know, hours and hours of talking later, it's like, okay, now I'm relaxed. It was fine. So when you meet new people for the first time, you have to sort of feel their frequency and then adjust your frequency, and now you're talking to each other.
Yeah, when he came up to the studio, he actually went to the corner of the room, curled up into a little ball,
Yeah.
and then we had
Started
to
crying.
We had to
Poked him a
coax,
couple
we,
times.
yeah, we had to coax him out.
Well, they showed me the chickens, and
It's your
And the
picture,
goat.
George. It's you drew this.
All right, Sarah Gent says, "I love your new song. Has anyone ever told you that you sound like Chester Bennington?"
Somebody said that last night.
I've never heard that until now. I will add, singing this song, it was extremely difficult because the way I wrote it was more singer-songwriter folk, and then Carter produced and engineered it in a way that I had not initially written it, which required me to sing in a way I don't normally do. But I really love when people are like, "I can't. That's not really Tim singing. It's literally me." And for a lot of people are like, "How did he pull that off?" I had to sing this one like 30 times. It was nuts. Like I had to go into the studio with Carter like 30 times and keep trying it and missing because it is just not my normal range. But we have a couple songs. It's not so much that it's not my normal range, but the better way to put it is I can do it. I am not practiced in this style of falsetto, switching, breathy, higher. So I don't think I would normally ever sound like Chester Bennington when I'm singing my other songs, but listen to Will of the People and maybe, I don't know, tell me what you think.
I think what they're experiencing when they hear you sing the haters, it's like an uncanny valley thing. Like you're the news guy. But wait, it's like when you see your teacher at the grocery store. It's
Yeah.
like, wait, you have other hobbies? That's weird. I don't like it. I'm scared.
You know, what's really funny is when you look at so I use vidIQ, and it shows me on a YouTube video whenever something is posted to Reddit. You can just click it and it shows you all the Reddit posts. So I can see, and I'm commenting on people on Reddit. They're smack talking and they're saying like, "Bald move, Tim, writing a song like this," and it's like, it's funny jokes and whatever. And I'm just like, I don't care. You can rag on me. And but it's funny how it's like we got 500,000 views on the song in a day, and it's overwhelming thumbs up. We're getting hit up by a ton of people. We've been getting hit by like major label affiliated companies and artists that are like, "This is really good stuff." And what people got to understand, that releasing a song and getting 500,000 hits right away is kind of a big deal. It's not like you're going to be like one of these big artists or whatever, but the left is attacking it, and it really does show how isolated they are. Because it's like, listen, dude, if you come out and start laughing and pointing and saying, "Ha, look everyone, look how dumb it is," and they're all sitting there being like, "Actually, we kind of like it." It kind of shows the emperor has no clothes.
Honestly, if I hear a song I don't like, I don't say anything about it.
I don't
and
listen
I turn
to
it
it.
off and I don't listen
Yeah.
to it. I definitely wouldn't comment
It's a-
on a YouTube video about it.
It's a strange amount of effort to go out of your way to be like, I really don't like this.
It's
Like, okay,
there's
team.
that saying, like, the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference.
Yeah.
So if I really, like, I'm not going to go up to somebody and say, "Hey, I don't think you're attractive. I don't like you."
I bet, because the Ethan Klein people are posting it on his subreddit, I don't think Ethan Klein would hate the song. I don't think he's going to sit there and be like, "Haha, because I don't like Tim Pool, the song is stupid." The Destiny subreddit, they're actually like, "Actually, it's not that bad." They're like, "Good job, Beanie Boy." And I'm like, that's like, these people have an honest approach to it.
Yeah.
They don't have to like me or agree with me. But I think a lot of these lefties, if they actually listen to it, would be like, "Yeah, it's a pretty good song. It's whatever." I don't expect them to like the genre or anything like that, but it's like a well-produced thing.
They just want you to stay in your box. They want you to not be able to touch the arts.
Yeah. Rulers of Stars says, "You see that cover by some black guy? It's hot. Love your one too. Good job, Mr. Banks." I saw it. I didn't listen to it, but I'd love to have him on the show. That'd be great. We can talk about it. All right. Jerkwad says, I think that the World Economic Forum wants to rule the world, but BRICS also wants the same. The two are clashing with one another. Lucky for us, they suck at it. I think the World Economic Forum wants to control the world, and BRICS formed because of it, partly because of it, to resist the excesses of NATO or whatever.
Yeah, it seems like that's true.
All right. What do we got here? Just a lot of, we initially got a whole bunch of super chats. I really do appreciate everybody super chatting about the song because, it's great. And just got to get those sales. Fleeting Floating Feather says, have Amazon Prime, but purchased the MP3 of Only Ever Wanted for 69 cents to show my support. Great song, waiting patiently for Bright Eyes to drop. There's actually a small snippet of Bright Eyes on my Instagram, and it's like a lot, and that was from months and months ago because the song's been done for a while, but we're just plotting out our release dates. The next song that's being released is going to be right before the midterms, I believe, and it's an overtly political song, more rock, kind of punky in a certain sense, but not really. And it's just overtly political. It's about the institutions, and it sounds pretty good. Very simple, fun, upbeat, but kind of brutal.
Got kind of a doo-wop flair.
You think?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like rock doo-wop or something.
The working title is Genocide. And, everyone I talk to that does marketing, they're like, ooh.
They're like, please stop. And
Maybe
you're like,
no. And I'm like, it doesn't need to be called that because the song is about institutions. That's just the working title of it. So maybe we'll think of something else. All right. Let's grab some super chats. Nobody Special says, I'm getting used to Ian commenting on a subject he knows almost nothing about and finding some way of making it a conspiracy of elite corruption.
You're getting used to it.
I don't know what that refers to because it's been too long.
Maybe Breaking Bad. Oh, probably maybe the Catholic Church, Breaking Bad.
There have been so many tonight.
Yeah, those were the two big ones tonight.
I want to see like a web of all of Ian's like conspiracy theories. My brother just sent me this YouTube video. It's like 9 hours of like all the conspiracy theories ever. It like reminds me of.
Whoa,
We are going to be launching
I'll
a
send it to you.
conspiracy show. So, Tales from the Inverted World, initially we wanted it to be like a weekly exploration, but it turned into something bigger. But Shane is going to be launching a call-in show and weekly paranormal but skeptics, podcast.
Do the graphic where it shows the conspiracies connected to each other on the board, but then it's an airplane that flies from conspiracy to conspiracy, and when it lands, that's when the show begins about that one.
So funny.
Perhaps.
Yeah, that'd be wild.
Colin Cooper says, to everyone in the room, thank you. Now, Tim, answer all three. When is Crowder, DeSantis, and Trump happening on IRL? All three of them are welcome on the show at any point. For Trump, we'd have to go to him. For DeSantis, probably the same. And I think Crowder is going to be passing through the area, actually.
Yeah, he's going to be in Baltimore this winter, I think. We just need to coordinate it if he's not too busy.
Got to figure that one out.
Yeah.
Jimmy Dore's heading this way, too, and that might happen because Jimmy is awesome. And he says, George Sensei, I still have hope. I will wait patiently for the Tim Civil War pool comic.
I don't know if I've told this to anybody. I have a comic of you in doing the Civil War thing.
Oh, you do?
I don't know how you would know this.
You didn't post it?
No, I was going to do one. Did I never say this? So I have a joke where I have this little stupid whistle. Like it's like
great.
a fart. So I'll hear like your show, and in my head, every time you say Civil War, it's a little fart. So for whatever reason, I connected the dots of you got your chickens in the back or something. Some chicken takes a poop, and it's like you go over to it like a hunter, and you put your finger on it. So you go, Civil War. But I don't think I never told anyone that one. I don't know.
That's great.
I didn't do it because I didn't want to be disrespectful without like telling you.
I just remember the one from his birthday where he's being like beamed up.
The
by
UFOs.
the
Yeah.
chickens. Yeah.
I don't want to, I don't want to make strips about people without their permission, though. It's like, no,
I don't care.
Well, it's respect. It's
You
important.
didn't ask Joe Biden for permission.
Yes,
Well,
he did.
Yeah.
Cliff
he
the,
didn't ask for.
Yeah. Okay.
Cliff the Alien is a good one.
I didn't say it.
Cliff the Alien says, Ian, there was a peaceful revolution. It was called ska in the 1990s. It was the happiest sound your planet ever heard, but the next day they made it illegal, and now look at the mess you're in.
That's a good point.
Now that is some very high praise for ska.
I approve.
The musical genre ska?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I guess it started in Jamaica in the 1950s, but there's some great ska.
Did you ever
in the
watch
90s.
people skank?
No.
It was ska dancing, and it was very silly. But you know what?
Oh, I
man,
was a
look,
huge Mighty Mighty Boss Tones fan. I still am.
Is that ska?
Dickie Barrett.
that is ska.
Pete's actually working. I don't know if that's
Yes, that
that.
is ska.
They were Mighty Mighty Boss Tones.
That's
is,
ska?
I mean, they were like a blend of rock and ska.
No.
Ska rock, I guess you would call it.
Ska rules.
I'm telling you, 90s
Real
music is
Big
going to come
Fish
back.
was pretty good. Got into those guys a little
90s
bit.
music is going to come back.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
the grunge. It's the emo because grunge is emo.
No.
Grunge was the inception of
Alter-
emo, and
alternative, dude.
then Blink
Grunge
182
sucks.
kind of turned it a little more electronic. Yeah, alternative was also like
It's going to be like Smashing
grunge thing.
Pumpkins. You're going to hear like Semisonic,
New
Eve
Found
6,
Glory.
those bands. Well, I don't know about New Found. That was
hope
2000s. It was that 90s rock sound. You know that this is the
Radiohead.
story of
Yeah,
a
yeah.
girl. And
Oh,
Vertical
yeah.
Horizon and stuff like that.
Oh, yes.
You know why I'm saying it's gonna-
Dishwalla.
I'll tell you why it's going to come
Give
back.
it to me straight.
Because it always does.
Yeah.
Like
It's a cycle.
there's a period where people are like, "Oh, that's old music," and then a couple decades later, they're like, "Oh, cool, retro,
Yeah.
classic music," and they want to revive it. Now we've got Kate Bush in the Billboard Hot 100 #5 for like the past 3 months,
the 80s.
running up that hill. It's the 80s.
Getting up to the 90s.
In a few years, people are going to be young kids are going to be like, "I was born in the wrong decade.
Yeah.
I love Eve 6."
Well, I feel like they're like that little bit. Y2K fashion is like such a big deal with Zoomers right now, and so I feel like why wouldn't the music just
Yep.
come back with it? And it sort of is a little out of order, but I think 90s and 2000s in some way are like an idealistic time for like these like current era teens. They're like, wasn't it so great?
It was the time before 9/11.
Yeah. They don't know.
It was the good times.
90s rock songs. I mean, you had what? You had Blur in the 90s, right?
Woohoo! Yeah, dude. That's a great song.
Dude, the 90s had such good stuff. I mean, Metallica in the 90s.
We got Radiohead. Even
Wide
when Coldplay
range.
was amazing when they first. I mean, I still like Coldplay, but they got a little too electronic. Nirvana. We even mentioned Pearl Jam, Stone Temple Pilots. This just Soundgarden. Chris Cornell, the way he could bend his body. These guys.
Oh,
I mean,
dude, Soundgarden. Dude, wow. Just so good. And Audio Slave also. Tom Morello's got wacky politics, but hey, man, good music's good music.
shout out to Dave Grohl for
Good music, man.
doing it for 30 years, man. Keep it going.
Oh, yeah, dude. Foo
least.
Fighters, Everlong?
Fighters,
Come on,
yeah.
dude. It's funny when, I tweeted about this and people were ragging on 90s music, and I'm like, you're crazy, bro.
No, they're wrong.
Like Nirvana, they
wrong.
were nothing, and then Grohl joined the band, and then they were Nirvana. Then they released Nevermind, and that album changed the world.
Let's read some more. Green Lion says, Phil Murphy in New Jersey said something very similar to Hochul a few years ago. Quote, if taxes are your issue, we're probably not your state.
Yeah, it was only a few months ago.
That was a few months ago?
That drove me crazy every time I saw it.
Taxes are your issue.
We're
Get
probably
out
not
of
your
here.
state. You son of a...
Long Walk says, hey, Tim, how do I get my music to you? It's not woke, but it's not anti-woke either. I have stuff on YouTube, Rumble, and SoundCloud. P.S. Dig the new song and Will of the People is a jam, too. I don't know yet, but Carter is going to be running this new label and all the songs that we're putting out, and he has but one man who does all the engineering and production himself. So look, it really comes down to this. We want to do it. It needs to make money. If it doesn't make money, we'll do what we can, but it'll be a small operation to just try and produce culture, and because we enjoy doing it. If these songs actually start taking off and we do a good job, then we're going to start, and that's the goal. The goal ultimately is to create a space where people, you don't got to be anti-woke, you don't got to be woke, we just want good music. You don't got to bend the knee to these weirdos. But you know what we're not going to sign? We're not going to sign a rock band that's like writing songs called like, Slobbering Balls or whatever. It's like,
Let me hear the song first.
Down with the straight white males.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like, there's going to be some kind of standard.
Dude, if someone releases a song called Straight White, I'm into it. If it's a good song, it's called Straight White, that'd be hard.
If it's funny, I'll
Yeah.
enjoy it.
I got a song called, White Meat, Hot Heat. That's
my
pretty
gosh.
nice.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I don't want to get you guys in trouble.
Matt Kelly says, bought Only Ever Wanted on iTunes. It's great. I like Eve 6, but them judging your lyrics is a brave and oblivious move indeed. Keep up the fight. The dude from Eve 6, I don't want to say he apologized. He said he felt bad about tweeting that because he responded to the promo saying the lyrics were banal or something. And then I just responded with like, dude, I don't care. Like, I'm a huge fan. Like, when I was a little kid, we would play their covers because they had like 4 songs that
We were just playing Eve 6 before the show.
because it's
Like
dude.
two of their songs.
Like-
God, they're so good. They were so good, dude.
But like I was like, bro, you don't gotta like my music. And then he tweeted that he felt bad about saying that, he took it down. And I'm like, right on, dude. I respect it, man. Look, we may disagree on politics, but they have one of the most iconic songs of the late 90s.
It's amazing how
Inside
like
Out.
a song when you're young, you hear a song when you're like 13 or 15 or something, and it can change your life forever. And then even when you're like 50 and 60, you still have love for that the creators of it and the experience
You know,
of
it's
it.
funny, even without language, like my friends used to burn J-pop and K-pop CDs. I didn't understand any of the lyrics, but I could play them and feel like the same.
Feel connected to them.
It's just, you're back in your youth and it's beautiful, and maybe I'm having a midlife crisis myself, but like it's really
on air live.
Yeah. No. Well, my whole career's a midlife crisis.
Actually,
We got a good one here. Liquid Logic says, "Save Assange in Times Square, Culture Jam. I know there are ad rules, but you'll have better ideas than mine, friend. I know head of rock alternative at Spotify, and I'll push your song, Let's Rock. Really do appreciate it, and actually that's a really good idea." So we have two of the biggest billboards in Times Square right now, but because it's Friday and the run ends in the next 2 days, there's nothing I can do to get a Save Assange message up. But actually, that's a really good idea. They wouldn't let me do the Twitter groomer thing because they were like, nope. But I'd be willing to bet that I can get up a billboard in Times Square saying free Julian Assange. And I will absolutely be down to do that and explore how we get that done. Because I think we might be able to even launch something first thing Monday. No. But that would totally be worth it. Julian Assange is look, there are things to criticize him for, but what the government is doing is effectively an assassination and execution. Mm-hmm. For 10 years, they tried to stop him because he was a powerful voice challenging the establishment. He was a journalist. That's what he was doing. And now you look at what they're trying to do to Project Veritas. It is insanely similar. They claimed that Julian Assange was like instructing people to commit crimes. This is what they do. You're a journalist and you're like, hey, if you want to leak something to me, like, talk to the lawyer and we'll figure out how to do it the right way. Then they go, he was instructing them on how to actually transmit stolen goods. That's a crime. Espionage Act, it's BS, dude.
Well, they make up the crime first and then find the evidence to support their.
That's right. Show me the man, I'll show you the crime.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great policy.
Jaspa Pijak says, Matthew 25:35 through 40. When I was hungry, you gave me something to eat, and when I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. Ian, biblical servanthood is proactive. To lift others up, forcing someone to serve is of the devil.
I hope that's true. I don't like people adhering to any kind of authority
Well,
like
you
that.
can tell. There's verses about like, you've heard sayings about like you can tell a tree by its fruit kind of thing.
Yes.
I'm sure you've heard something like that. Like
Actually, not really. But what do you mean? Like,
Well-
if the fruit's sick, then the tree's probably sick?
yeah, the it's not a parable, but Jesus was there was an example of he was trying to eat from a tree and basically it didn't give him good fruit. So he says, may you never bear fruit again. And then it wilted in front of them. And then he basically clarified, you can tell a tree by its fruit. So the idea is that if you look at a person's actions throughout their life, if they serve people, if they display what later would be described as fruits of the Spirit, later on by Paul wrote that stuff. But the idea is that you can tell if a person's really following the way, let's say, by the fruits of their life, like if they're exercising things like mercy, goodness, hospitality, and there's a million different things. But like you could tell when someone's just full of it and they're just saying things. Like you'll find fake Christians all the time because they say things but they don't actually live it out,
Or they don't understand it. They may have heard something.
right. So I always say like COVID and the vaccine stuff and lockdown stuff showed a lot of people who was who in terms of you saw words versus actions playing out.
I gotta read this one from Waffle Sensei. He says, my favorite part of today, Tim, was when some Twitter dude said, what's next? You gonna cover Sublime songs or something? He said something like that. Anyways, if you made a Doin' Time cover of Sublime, I personally think you'd break the charts. I just want to point out to everybody that some of the best memories I have are being like 18 or 19 and you're at a party and some random dude grabs the guitar and then he starts playing Bad Fish and then everyone in the house is drunk singing Bad Fish. Those were some of the best times ever. Now, I'm sure not everybody experienced something like that, but I'm sure people down in Long Beach in Southern California know what I'm talking about. People in Chicago know what I'm talking about. That was always a lot of fun. All the stoner dudes knew Bad Fish. Do you know?
Dominic Bertolami played Bad Fish quite frequently in Venice, California when I lived at the Madhouse.
It was just so much fun when like everyone knew the words and they're singing along and they're just drunk. Those are good
Dominic
times,
covers
man.
that so well, too.
Another good 90s band that's still around, 311. They're playing out here in October.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
enjoyed
311's awesome.
Yeah.
All mixed up.
Yup.
Big
I
part
still
of my
know
high
how
school.
I still know how to play on the guitar. I'll Be Here a While. Is that the name of the song?
Does that have to say? I don't know. I don't know that one. I only have their first album. When Santeria, the Sublime song, when
Oh,
you hear
of
about him
course,
singing
dude.
"Swimming Out Past," no, when he's saying, when he's talking about the break, what's that line when he feels the break? Feel the break, feel the break, feel the break, and I can't live it all. When you're out in LA and you surf for the first time and you go out past the break and you start to understand the calm, the stillness of being past the break and then actually feeling the break. It was like I was tearing up.
They're actually playing out here too, Sublime with Rome. They're playing out here,
they always
like,
play with
well, yeah, because Bradley is not around.
Unfortunately, man.
But the casino out here is doing a bunch of shows, like Blues Traveler.
Oh, huge Blues Traveler fan.
Blues Traveler, so good. You know, the song Hook is just brilliant writing. They took the pop structure and then they mocked it, and it actually turned into something clever and like.
It was like Pachelbel's. They mocked Pachelbel's canon, or it was kind of like based off of that.
And then the lyrics are basically how pop songs were just meant to manipulate you, and it's just brilliant writing.
Oh, like John Popper, man.
Yeah, he's great man, dude. I grew up in the '90s, and I know all those songs. First album I ever got was Americana by the Offspring. The first song I ever learned how to play was The Kids Aren't All Right. I also had which album had Enter Sandman on it? Because
the Black Album.
The Black Album. And I learned how to play that because that was the one that like everybody was always playing, and it was easy enough for me to like play the opening riff. Yeah,
I had
good days, man.
Pearl Jam Versus was my first album, and then Blues Traveler. That was my second album. I got those at the same time. What album was that? Blues Traveler.
Yep. Blues Traveler.
Was it just called Blues Traveler?
No,
I
I
think it was
don't
just called Blues Traveler.
Early '90s, huh? Yeah.
I had a
you
CD
weren't alive.
I
wasn't
was here for
alive either.
some of the 90s, but I don't really remember it, I have to say.
You were alive.
Oh no, the album was called Four. The Blues Traveler album was
I
called
was
Four.
These
I was like
youngsters
2.
don't know how good
It's
it was.
back when you had taped songs off the radio. Like you'd be waiting by the radio to hear the song, and you'd finally hit record on your tape deck, and you'd get the song. It was
Half
the
of
only
it.
way to be able to listen to a song again, because otherwise it was just in the ether. You had to remember
And then,
it.
but we had the internet, so we would
Wondering
burn
about the before
CDs.
times.
we would download songs, and it would take like 3 hours to get one MP3. And then if someone called you, the download would collapse. And you're like,
Not my
I had a
dial-up.
14.4 modem back in the day. Listen, we were downloading anime overnight, episodes just scanlated.
I watched the Frieza saga on Real Player.
That's rough.
At like 144p.
Wow.
And it was like it would play for 5 seconds, then buffer for like 50 seconds, and then play 5 seconds. But it was like Goku. He's going Super Saiyan. It's happening. So cool. All right, everybody. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, and click that link in the description below if you would kindly purchase our new single, Only Ever Wanted. If everybody who watched this song bought it, we would be like chart topping. It'd be really, really big. But if you like the song, if you want to support our work, if you buy the song and the song ends up becoming successful, then we're going to be expanding as fast as we can, as rapidly as possible in launching new music. If it turns out that it's just more of a hobby project because it doesn't do as well as we think, and well, then we'll just make music that we like and we'll do it in-house just to have the music and stuff like that. But I really do think we've got good songs, and we're gonna be able to make something really fantastic here. So with your support, we will continue to grow. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me at Timcast. George, you want to shout anything out?
No, if you guys just follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I think on Instagram I'm actually 69.9K followers. You can change that tonight.
Sexy.
I have 4 new books. My Poop Posts collection is issues 6 through 9 coming out. They're actually on for sale. You can see that on Twitter. And next month I'm releasing a children's book. Yeah, we made a little children's book, and
Adorable.
and we're actually going to be like selling cute children's stuff that actually has nothing to do with me, but I'll be announcing that stuff soon. It's very cute, very sweet, very innocent, has nothing to do with my usual crap, but it's going to be good stuff.
Right on.
I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for timcast.com. You can check it every day for your news. You can follow me on Instagram at hannahclaire.b. Thanks for having me.
Hello, everyone, and goodbye. I'm Ian Crossland. Great to see you. Maybe we can queue up this Only Ever Wanted on YouTube and play this out for the homies.
You want me to play this song?
Pull one out for all the homies. This one's for you guys. This
right,
song
we're gonna
changed my life.
Yes, we're going to see what we can do. Thank you all for spending your Friday night with us. We do appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed spending this time with George/Gprime85. You guys can follow me on Twitter and minds.com at Sarah Patchlitz, as well as sarahpatchlitz.me.
I think I'll just show the video and direct you guys onto YouTube to watch it if you really want to. I think that's just way better to do.
Yeah.
So Timcast Records.
There you go.
Search for that. Search Only Ever Wanted official music video. Shane Cashman of Tales from the Inverted World and his wife are the stars.
There's Carter. I know
And,
those
Really, it's a
guys.
family production over here.
Family
great,
production,
yeah.
man. Well, it's basically like we've got a bunch of really talented people that work here, and so we utilize the resources that we had. And we had a fog machine because we went to Guitar Center, and I was like, "Hey, they got a fog machine," so we
Messed
bought
around
it.
with the fog machine.
And then we were putting this video together. Someone mentioned we had a fog machine, and they were like, "Hey, we have a fog machine, don't we?" I was like, "Yes, let's bring a fog machine."
Oh yeah,
then
Andy was
we-
playing with it. In the
But we filmed this in this really old, rundown 1800s barn house, and it's creepy.
Really
it's
amazing.
Like, it's cool stuff.
I love Shane's eyes. Like he's so so much emotion in his eyes.
Yeah, check out the song. I mean, let me refresh it and see how many views we have now.
Ooh, listen to that.
460,317 views, and we launched it at midnight. So
suspense.
looks like we'll end the day 24 hours with 500,000. Hopefully by next Thursday we'll have gotten enough sales and views that we'll find ourselves having a successful song here.
Look at this comment. This Tim Pool sounds like a good guy. Maybe he should start a podcast. I appreciate that comment.
26,000 thumbs up. We have
Yeah.
thousands of comments. Where are the comments at? Oh, 6,000 comments. Really do appreciate all the support, you guys. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye, guys.